Cyberpunk 2077. This is not a show about Cyberpunk 2077.
No.
We should probably at some point do a show about Cyberpunk 2077, but not today, because today it is time for the RageSelect podcast. Right here on RageSelect. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mike.
Yeah. Cyberpunk 2077 is good now, Michael.
It's became a game.
Good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's doable now.
Yeah. Now that I've got fucking
took
Jedi
its glasses
katana
off.
powers. Oh, yeah.
And it's very sexy now.
Took its hair down.
Yeah.
Stopped wearing overalls. We're going to take Cyberpunk 2077 to prom. But not before. There was a lot. You told me that there wasn't as much, but there was a lot. Because last week, TGS was going on while we were talking about Unity and Microsoft and all that bullshit.
I didn't say there was a lot. I just said there wasn't a lot in the Capcom side.
Yeah. There was a Microsoft one that was pretty chock full. So
there was. I just didn't watch a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I did. I watched two 40-minute things, and Capcom really wasted my fucking time.
Yeah.
So we can see how fast we go through those.
We can
because
the Capcoms pretty quickly.
Yeah. We got a lot of news. News keeps happening. It's almost like when we record this podcast, people still keep doing things.
Hell, news happened the day with Epic.
I'm not a fan. I think everybody should shut the fuck up and stop doing stuff on Thursdays when we record.
Yeah, they should just stop. Wait till next week to give us news.
Yep.
Stop it.
You know what the saddest part is, though, is that I didn't realize until it was way too late, and I didn't have enough time, that whole Castlevania dropped on Netflix today.
It did.
So I don't have any thoughts about it because I haven't watched it yet.
I don't either because it came out and I don't have Netflix right now.
Well, I'll give you my Netflix password. Oh, no, I won't.
That's the problem.
Those sons of bitches.
I used to have a friends and I can't anymore because it's like, you don't live there. And it's like, man, now I got to pirate this.
Yeah.
Like the great pirate King Grant.
God damn it. Well, I'll tell you what. I may not have watched Castlevania. I may not have got a chance to watch The Weird World of Henry Sugar or whatever the fuck that thing is because it comes out tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's happening too.
But I did watch a movie last week, and I actually really enjoyed it. I watched Guy Ritchie's The Covenant on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah. I've been saying this in the Discord, and I've been saying this in other places too. But if you are tired of Jeff repeating himself, then I don't know why you're still listening to this podcast. So Guy Ritchie's last three movies were Wrath of Man, which I enjoyed, even though I can really say that it was dumb. It was dumb, but it was fun. It was just Jason Statham. I'm Jason Statham. I'm going to kill everybody. I was like, all right, fine. Rue de Guerre or whatever,
I'm not even going to try.
the Aubrey Plaza Jason Statham,
Yeah.
Hugh Grant, Josh Hartnett.
That's right. Josh Hartnett's in it.
Movie. It was terrible. It was so bad.
That's a shame.
Like, I did not like it at all. And then I watched The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal, who I do not like.
Do you not like Jake Gyllenhaal?
I'm not a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Because he's Mysterio?
It's because of Nightcrawler. Because everybody loves Nightcrawler, and I hate Nightcrawler because I hate that character. I hate him, and they're just like, well, that's the point. And I'm like, yes, I hate him. I don't want to watch the movie. I fucking hate the guy.
He's separate from that. You understand that, right?
No. No. What's his face? Homelander? Star?
Anthony Starr?
Anthony Starr. He's in there
his name.
briefly. As well as Johnny Lee Miller with a real fucking bad mustache. I was like, who the hell is that?
That's such a weird thing for him to do.
Also, I have a quick bone to pick. Just a brief tangent before I tell everybody what I actually thought about this
With
movie.
his mustache?
Okay, you know how when you're watching a movie and it's got subtitles and you got subtitles turned on because all Hollywood movies are mixed really badly and you can't hear them unless you have like a $4,000 sound bar or whatever,
or super hearing, yeah.
or super hearing, or you've got neighbors, you live in an apartment or whatever, and so when you're watching a show and it's got subtitles on and there's like a joke, but they do both like the setup and the punchline in the same subtitle, so you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or like,
I'm not a fan of those.
It'll be like a subtitle and then it'll be like, from off screen, Nemesis says, bet you didn't expect to see me here, Mr. Bond. And it's like, well, now I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the problem with subtitles.
I have a very similar problem with Amazon's X-ray mode, because if you pause that
it tells
thing,
you who's in the scene.
It tells you who's in the scene, and there were a few where I was like, "Well, come on now, Amazon! I'm trying to enjoy a movie. Don't tell me everybody
Who's that shadowy figure?" And you pause it. And, oh, by the way, that's Idris Elba. You're like, God damn it!
I was like, "Wait, who is that?" And then when I paused it, it was like Johnny Lee Miller, but then it had like 8 other actors, and I was like, "They're not." Oh, okay, I see what's going to happen. Anyway, really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
That's good.
Jake Gyllenhaal plays like a military, like an IED, guy looking for IEDs in Afghanistan, and a lot of it is kind of about him having one of the, I don't know if there's a way to how to say this. The people that were interpreters for the United States military in Afghanistan.
They're just interpreters.
Yeah, but we made a deal with them where we were like, if you do this, you're probably going to be like marked for death because you're helping the United States military.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll get you visas to come to the United States. And then we really did a bad job about that.
Yeah, super bad job.
That's part of the movie. It's like half kind of a military drama thing, but then it's also half like, how bad were we at doing this?
The funniest thing about that specific scenario, and the reason I say funny, is that America as a country doesn't know how to talk about it. Yeah. So there's both that drama that you just said.
Yeah.
But they also made a sitcom about it a while ago. And it was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
A sitcom?
They made a sitcom about a scenario involving a soldier and his Afghanistan or whatever interpreter.
What show are you
It was like a
about?
CBS show. I don't even know if it aired. I just know this was.
Oh my God.
This is a real show, by the way. I remember.
Was it made by the guy that made that show about the Indian call center that was canceled after like 6 episodes?
No, that show lasted a couple seasons, if I remember correctly. I actually watched that show. It was based on a movie.
Good Lord.
It was. I watched it for Dietrich Bader because Dietrich Bader was in it.
Yeah.
But this show had. I think it had the guy who plays Hank from
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad is
Dean
the soldier's
Norris?
dad. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it did.
Okay.
And it was this fucking you watch the trailer for it, and you're like, what the fuck is this? You're like, how did this even get made? And it's like it's a wacky he's a fish out of water thing. He's like he was the interpreter in a war, and he's like now your plucky sidekick or something.
That's so weird.
It was like I was sort of looking for not like Alf. What the fuck is it? I don't remember. United States of Al.
United
That's what it
States
was.
of Al.
That's exactly what it was.
Holy shit.
This is a real show that happened.
Yikes.
It lasted how long did it last?
2 seasons.
It had 2 seasons?
2021, 2 seasons.
Oh my God.
There he is.
That's a real show that happened.
My goodness. Okay. Well, hey, I can't recommend the United States of Al.
Don't watch that show.
If you've got Amazon Prime, you can go watch The Covenant. Also, I watched A Simple Favor, which is a really weird.
People love that movie.
Anna Kendrick and I can never remember that other lady's name.
I don't remember her name either off the top of my head.
It's like one of those. It's like Gone Girl light. It's real campy but weird. Anyway,
people really loved it. No one expected to love it the way they did, but they really did.
I feel like because I've just told
Blake Lively. That's what it was.
Yeah, Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick. I feel like this is one of those things where for years, Michael, people have been trying to figure out what are Jeff's tastes in movies. I'm like, well, last weekend I watched A Simple Plan, and then I got done. I watched The Covenant, and they're like, well, I don't know what to recommend to you. And I'm like, that's because I'm a complex human being, and I don't just have one thing I like.
Well, it turns out, Jeff, they need to recommend the United States of Al.
You know what? I did watch that. I did watch Outsourced. I did watch both full seasons of Outsourced.
I watched that entire show. I actually was a fan of it when it was on the air, and boy howdy was it not good.
Nope, not good. Anyway, Michael, now that I've taken up roughly most of this part, how about you? You watch anything? You play anything good? You do anything?
Well, I'll bring up the last thing I did a review on. The reason I want to bring it out is because I think it's interesting to me that didn't happen, is that Michael Jai White started his own studio called Gigantic Studios, and he made a movie called The Outlaw Johnny Black. and it's supposed to be like kind of a spiritual successor to Black Dynamite, but not really at the same time. Because it actually tries to be a straightforward Western in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Because the thing about the charm about Black Dynamite is the fact that it's clearly made terribly on purpose.
Right.
So you see like boom mics coming in and like people saying things really stupidly.
Yep.
That sort of thing. But this movie like is just a straight comedy, but also tries to be a straight Western at the same time. But the problem is it's like really fucking long. It's like 2 hours long, and the first act is like not very good.
Oh no.
Like one of the jokes that like in the first act that's just like really annoying is that they're like, these are the Native American characters, but like half of them are white guys. And so the joke is like, well, they don't have any actual like Native guys to be in the movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they do a joke from that old commercial about the pollution. And you're like, come on, guys.
Right.
But then, like, once it gets past that point, it becomes more interesting because then it is a lot funnier from then on. And that's really, like, where I liked it more. But then there's a large gap where you're like, we're kind of serious. And you're like, oh, I forgot this was a comedy when the jokes come back in. Right. And you're just like, God damn it. This movie would be a lot better if you just edited this shit down, guys.
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying nothing on the level of I threw that shit before I came in the room? Because when that happened to Black Dynamite, I fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard.
There were some really good jokes in it. Some of them, that one of the jokes that made me laugh the most is that there's these two women who see him, and every time they see him, they have this sort of just like hungry thirstiness to them, where they're just like, oh dear God, like kind of thing every time they see Michael Jai White. Yeah. And you're like, I can't blame them. Yeah. Because there's one moment where like he comes out of the shower and she's just like staring at him, and they're just like, oh dear Lord. But there's a lot of really good jokes in it. I don't know if it's as quotable as Black Dynamite is, because like I said, there isn't nearly as many insane jokes the same way. But the ones that aren't as funny as they should be. Like, the jokes that work the best for me are, like, the very small ones. Because he has to pretend to be a preacher in the middle of the movie. And there's a part where somebody just like, aren't you supposed to, like, turn the other chick? He's like, I think so. I mean, maybe. Because he doesn't, like, know what the fuck to say. Okay. And those are the more fun parts. Because it's just like, he's like, trying to pretend to be somebody.
Sounds like you should watch if you have, like, a hangover and you need something that's, like, not too engaging. I'm just going to kind of have it on. I'm going to kind of half watch it. I'm going to lay on the couch. I'm going to drink Gatorade and get myself something from Uber Eats.
It's a fun enough time. Like, if you liked Black Dynamite even a little bit, you'll probably like Outlaw Johnny Black. That's all. That's the main thing I'll say about it.
Fair enough.
And it's got a lot of the same actors from it too.
Cool. Well, I don't have a transition out of that. I haven't seen that movie, so I can't come up with a good transition. Let's talk about video games. Let's talk about TGS. Yeah. Let's talk about
insanity.
The Tokyo Game Show, and in no particular order. Oh God, we're gonna have to go through these fast, but it's good because these are slight. A lot of these are very slight, and a lot of the information at TGS is like shit you already know.
Yeah, Capcom's is very much that outside of some release date stuff.
Yeah. So Capcom had a thing. I think that probably the biggest thing they had was they showed off some extended footage for Dragon's Dogma 2. Yes. Which it was interesting because it was like when I was watching it, I was thinking like, yeah, this looks kind of like mediocre. But then I had to think about it for a second, and I was like, sometimes you'll get games where like as a third-person game, this looks like something bad from Steam or something. Yeah. But if they're using that, if they're like, and then I saw some of the stuff, like there's a point in the demo where they're fighting like an ogre and they hit it in the legs until it falls, and then it makes a bridge by falling into a gorge and grabbing the other side, and then everybody just runs across its back like a Looney Tune. And I'm like, well, that's fun.
Yeah, that's the thing, is even the first Dragon's Dogma, when you saw gameplay of it, you're like, this doesn't look all that interesting. Yeah. And then people played it and they loved it. So yeah. It's like, it's very much one of those games that's like, you won't really know until you get your hands on it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like more Dragon's Dogma is probably the best thing that I could say. They kind of talked a little bit about the classes. You know, fucking, I don't need some Capcom narrator explaining what an archer is to me. I know what an archer is.
You've never heard of a mage, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, mages, they do big attacks. But there was some other environmental stuff, like they had a part where they were fighting like kind of a big ogre. They showed that you could still climb up on top of guys. They had a part where the ogre's like standing in like a lake bed, and they literally grab like an exploding barrel and then blow up these rocks that then wash the big troll or whatever
It
down
looks
the
so
stream.
cool too, by the way.
So it looks like there's a lot of interesting stuff to figure out. And you know what? The first Dragon's Dogma, I played like 6 hours of it, and I was like, meh. And then a friend of mine was like, no, you got to play it all the way to the end. And I was like, okay. And I did, and it was good. So, you know.
It was a game that got a second win later on in its life because a lot of people had the same thought process. They played it for a little bit. And like, I don't know if this is for me, and then they stopped, and then like a year or two later, everybody's like, "Wait, Dragon Dogma was fucking amazing! Like, have you played it?" It's like, where did this come from?
You just have to keep playing it. You have to keep on keeping on.
It's just one of those games, and that's not like unheard of because I felt like that's how Monster Hunter was. I had to convince a lot of people to be like, just keep in with Monster Hunter, then eventually you'll really like what you're doing, and that's what happens. That's what happened to me the first time I did it. Yeah,
it's definitely one you have to stick with. They also showed off a little bit of the like the way that Dragon's Dogma works is you can be any class, and then you start with one class and you level it up X amount, and then you can go into like these advanced classes. And so then if you get like levels in fighter and levels in mage, then you can create kind of like go into the battle mage school. So it's very much like a progression thing where showing early stuff may not be, especially because a lot of what they're showing is this very basic middle of a European countryside with rocks and grass and ogres and little motherfuckers.
Because Dragon's Dogma got fucking crazy as it progressed, and that's exactly what will happen with this one. Like a lot of this footage is just early on, probably not to spoil things.
Yeah. Yep. Almost certainly. So yeah, I don't know. It looks good. I would have rather have seen more of this. Like I would rather seen like a more of a bigger deep dive, mostly because everything else that Capcom showed was kind of like, yeah, I know Capcom, I know.
Yeah, for the most part. The only other thing I found exciting was the release date for the Ace Attorney Apollo Justice section.
Well, we'll get to that. First we gotta talk about Resident Evil 4.
Do we, though?
For 10 seconds. All they did was basically show off separate ways. It came out the same day that they were or like the day after they were doing this.
Yeah.
Ada Wong goes around doing her hook shots. Wesker's there. I mean, like, Amanda and I played this on the dojo. It seems like a very good expansion. RE4 was a really fun game. I played it 3 times. I would not say no to more Resident Evil 4, especially with Ada Wong running around with her hook shot and all of her crazy super spy shit. Sure. Yeah. You sold me, brah.
Everybody says it's amazing.
Yep. And then they showed off a little bit of the VR. Well, they put Ada and Wesker in Mercenaries. That was a free update. And then finally they showed VR mode for RE4, which has been announced and we already know about. I've already seen it a whole bunch of times, and you don't got to tell me again.
At this point, just tell us when it comes out.
Yeah, which they did not do. Of course, the one thing that I was really kind of curious, so they showed this thing where they're showing, you can tell me this, Michael, I have a question for you. Okay, so in the Resident Evil 4 VR mode, they're showing Leon shooting a barrel, or like using various weapons on a barrel. So he starts with like throwing a knife at the barrel, and then he shoots it with a pistol, and he shoots it with like a shotgun, and they show like you got to shoot and then rack it, and then he shoots it with like a bolt action rifle, and he shoots it, and then he holds the rifle up with his right hand, reaches over it with his left hand to cycle the bolt. So on a normal bolt action rifle, after you shoot, you take your right hand off of the stock, and then you cycle with your right hand. That's why the bolt is on the right hand side of the gun. Whereas here, it's the most awkward thing I've ever fucking seen. Where he's to turn the entire gun off the target, reach over it with his left hand, and in a really awkward way cycle it. Can you cycle with your right hand in Resident Evil? You played the VR, the re-release on the Oculus, right?
Yeah, I could have sworn you could.
Yeah.
The problem is it's been a while since I used it, because I remember doing that and everything, and I just can't remember if it let me hold it from the other side.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because I remember doing the whole like having to do the bolt action part of it, but I stopped playing it so long ago I don't remember.
Okay. I mean, I'm hoping that if you just keep your left hand closed, you can release your right hand and do it, because this looks like the worst thing in the world to do when it comes, especially because you have to cycle between every shot, and it just looks like janky as all motherfuck.
Well, it's the hardest thing about the game is like you have to do everything so manually.
Yeah.
And it adds to the intensity of it because you're just like, well, fuck, I have to legitimately cock the shotgun before I fire again. But this chainsaw guy's right in my face.
True.
And this is horrifying.
Let's see. So yeah, they also talked about how they're putting on the Mac stuff. I talked about that with Amanda last week. The new iPhones have enough processing power to literally be able to play Resident Evil 4 remake on them.
I saw that. Did you see that tweet that guy did about the iPhone or whatever?
I don't think so.
There was a guy who made a tweet who was like, "Step aside, Nintendo. I can finally play these games on my phone now." But it was like he had like this cooling thing attached to it, and a fucking like it attached to a projector of some kind. Like it had all this shit on it that was like, if you added everything that you had to do this, it was like $2 or $3 grand.
Yeah.
No, Nintendo has nothing to worry about.
Or you could buy a $250 Nintendo Switch and be done with it.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, you could play Resident Evil Village, and they talked about how you can play them on an iPad. They talked about the new iPhone, but you can play them on iPad. You can sync up a controller, blah, 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 blah. You can also put a billion motion controls on your screens, and it sucks. Anyway, boo.
Yeah.
It was really funny, though, because in a very calm way, they had a part where they were just like, now you can re-experience Ethan Winter's journey to try to find his daughter wherever on the go on the iPad. Where it's just like, this wasn't like a good thing that happened to Ethan Winters. Ethan Winters did not have a good time in Resident Evil Village.
He had a very bad time. He lost a lot.
Yep. Phoenix Wright, Apollo Justice, Ace Attorneys. Looks like they're doing a lot on this one. Looks like they're adding even more as far as like they've got the 2 DLC cases are in there.
Yeah, I wonder if they added the DLC in like the order that it's supposed to happen in the game.
Yeah,
because that was my issue with the DLC in the fifth game, was that it took place like way before a lot of stuff happens in the game.
Oh.
So I played it after the game was over, and I was like, oh, this game's like, you'll find out about that later. I'm like, I already know what happens to half of these things that you are alluding to.
There's a really brief part where they talk about the animation studio right here, where you can put characters in scenes, and later on they show it again, where you can put a character in a scene, make them do a thing. But really briefly, that's why I paused it. Like for just a second, they show the interface for this with Phoenix Wright standing on a green screen.
Oh God!
So you could literally make Phoenix Wright be in whatever you want now.
This is the greatest thing that's ever going to happen to the Phoenix Wright meme community.
Yep,
I can't fucking wait.
that was pretty much the best thing I saw. Other than that, it looks like it's a lot like the Herlock Sholmes one, the throwback one.
Yeah, because this is all the second half of the Ace Attorney thing. Like, the only reason they're calling it Apollo Justice Trilogy is because he's just in all three.
Right.
But honestly, it's not really his trilogy.
Yeah.
He just happens to be a main character in the other two.
And that's coming out January 25th.
And I'm very excited.
Yep.
I will buy the shit out of that.
Starting to stack it up. So then they talk about
finally
it.
Be able to
and they talk
beat
about
6,
it.
Because I never beat 6.
They talk about it, and they talk about it, and they talk about it some more. They even have the thing where they're just like, you get some free art by completing these sections, but then they blurred all the art out because they didn't want you to just see the art.
Yeah, it's gonna ruin some things, I assume. I'm very excited.
Yep.
Phoenix Wright is the only series where you can defend a killer whale from murder.
With a mustache.
Who has a mustache and a pirate hat on. I love it. It's
does anybody care about GeForce Now? I care about GeForce Now. Monster Hunter Now, though, is another story.
I was talking to a friend because we were watching this at the same time, and he's like, I thought Monster Hunter Now was one of those fake apps you see on the App Store. When he first saw it.
Installs a virus on your phone.
Yeah, because there's a lot of those that they're like, play the new Dragon Ball Fire people. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, this is Niantic. This is the going outside. I don't go outside to play video games. I stay inside.
Just their Pokemon Go thing.
do you have anything to say about this? I have nothing to say about this.
Not really. If you like that sort of thing and you like Monster Hunter, then I'm sure you'll like it. Otherwise, I don't give a fuck.
And then they had a little trailer for the 20th anniversary. They didn't actually announce any like DLC or special stuff or anything. It was just kind of like a compilation trailer of quick motion graphics for all the Monster Hunters.
There's a single thing that happens that's super ominous in the entire thing, which is at the very end, where they show all the hunters in this row,
right?
And then like it's this part right here, because it shows everybody, and then there's a pause, for like a solid 10 seconds,
something like that.
And then it randomly adds like one more guy.
Yeah.
And then you're like, is that an announcement? What is that?
Oh, of a new Monster Hunter?
It's like, that could be, because they keep going, we'll have more announcements later.
Okay.
And you're like, well, that could very much be another thing. We just don't know, because it's a very deliberate pause,
right, to
add the last guy, because otherwise they would have just ended on the last guy and that would have been the end of it.
Right.
So they're clearly teasing something, but they just aren't saying it.
Okay.
And that's kind of frustrating.
Exoprimal is the thing. There's a new map. There's a new game type. There's some new mechs.
It's doing decently, apparently.
Apparently. I mean, like, if that's what you're into, that's cool. I'm not about to try to...
I had a decent time with it when I tried it on Game Pass, but it's very much something you have to play with people, you know?
You know, not to... Because we got too much for me to tangentize too much, but I realized this week when I started... Or over the weekend when I started playing Cyberpunk, that, like... I can really tell when I like a video game because I get no sleep.
Yeah.
And, like, nothing about Exoprimal or even some of the other stuff that I'm playing, like, has grabbed me to the point where, like, I kept trying to play Jedi Survivor, and I kept being like, it's time for dinner. I'm just going to put this down, and I'm going to do it, as opposed to Cyberpunk, where I'm just like, I've had to pee for 45 minutes, but I'm going to kill this cyber psycho before I get up out of my chair to go do this.
Yeah, that's the best thing about it when you really get into a game, is that you lose a lot of weight because you forget to eat, and then you forget to do anything. The only reason I did anything when Spider-Man... the first one came out was my dog was like, well, I have to go pee.
Right.
And I was like, well, I either take you out or I have to clean up afterwards. Either way, I have to stop playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll do the first one.
Yeah. Anyway, Exoprimal is still a thing. It's getting some updates. It's actually going strong. They've got a whole the second phase is a thing. I went to the subreddit for Exoprimal.
Really?
Everybody was really salty there, like, because there's a thing where it's like SpongeBob, the SpongeBob meme, where it's like everybody said like it'll be servers will be turned off in 3 months, like, and they're just like, nah, but we're all playing it, we're loving it. I'm just like, okay, man, just fucking stop being on the subreddit, go play your video game.
Yeah, calm down, guys. Yeah, the main issue I had with Exoprimal is there's no cross-platforming on it.
Not enough Street Fighter 6 collaborations.
No, yeah, they need more Guiles. They needed the hair to be bigger on Guile. No, it's just, yeah, because I had friends who were going to play Exoprimal. I was like, well, it's on Game Pass. Maybe I'll play with them. But they're all PC players. Oh. And then they're like, oh, by the way, there's no crossplay. I'm like, well, what the fuck? There's no point in me playing this now. And so I just stopped, because I was like, well, I can't even play with anyone who I even know is even trying it. So
sure.
That's the end of that.
Chun-Li's getting added to the weird Street Fighter 6 mech people.
They
in
made
the
sure
game.
her ass was as thick as they could.
She's also wearing pants. Those robots are wearing pants. They're all wearing pants.
Everyone's wearing pants.
I don't know. Also, they talked about how they have seasonal events. They're going to have a Halloween event. They're going to have a Christmas event, and a Double X weekend. Hey, man, you know what? If you're looking for something to play online, you could probably do worse than Exoprimal.
Yeah, you can do a lot worse than Exoprimal.
Yeah. Let's see. They also have, like, Season 3. Oh, they're going to do a Monster Hunter collab.
Oh, that's fun.
They showed
I feel like that would have been the first thing they should have done.
They showed one of the mechs that's, like, all full of Rathalos armor and stuff.
Nice.
Which is fine. That's going to be in January. Blat. Yeah. So, let's see. After that, we got Street Fighter 6. We got a lot of... we got a short... talk about Aki. Everybody's talking about Aki right now.
Yeah, she's already out too by the time this is recorded.
Yeah. I think she came out like a day or two after this was aired. Have you tried playing her? She looks really weird to play.
I haven't tried playing her, but people are having a lot of fun with her currently.
Yeah.
Although the biggest issue people have is that there was a meme involving her crouch thing. Because there's she has this ability where she just like slowly crawls towards a person. And so people thought that you could probably do E Honda's like charging forward move that he does. I forget what's called. You know what I'm talking about? Where
the headbutt through the air thing.
They were hoping that you could fly over her with the headbutt, because the meme right now is the two of them facing each other as they're passing each other. But the problem is that they turned her hitbox to be able to be hit by it for some reason.
Okay.
And everybody's like, it wasn't supposed to be like this, Capcom. You sick fucks.
Great. Wonderful.
The meme-tasticness is really funny.
Good to know the Street Fighter community has their priorities in order.
Well, everybody wants to ship somebody with somebody, and they thought that would be a good way, apparently.
Sure.
But my favorite is that Capcom, when they announced that, or when she came out, they're like, look, you can't fix her, but she'll fix you.
They also announced another, like a legend tier to the online system.
Because a lot of people have made it to the master tier. It's the top 500 people or something like that. So it's kind of insane.
Yeah, and then also some updates for collaborations and some Halloween stuff. And
this is the Ninja Turtle one probably finally ended.
Ed is coming next year. Anyway, also they monetized the ever-loving crap out of the his passes for Street Fighter 6.
Those passes are crazy.
Woo.
The fact that there's an ultimate version of the character pass is very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 different season passes.
And they're the same amount of characters, but they're more costumes in the second one.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Got some tournaments, some sales. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 and Mega Man Battle Network were on sale. And then I think, did they end with this, where it was like the dumb 40th anniversary website that they put up that had all the stuff on it?
Yeah, because they've talked about that a few times already.
And an ad for Capcom ID. And yeah, that was it. So, yep. I mean, like... That was pretty bleh.
There wasn't a lot going on.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was great for normos that don't read like 3 different gaming websites every day, but I was like, yeah, and like, give me something else, Capcom.
Everybody was actually legitimately disappointed.
Devil May Cry 6, maybe? You already got a Street Fighter 6.
That'd be nice. We did get Devil May Cry stuff, but not from them.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
Also, though, this was a real brief sojourn before we jump into Xbox. The boss, one of the publishing bosses over at Capcom, Haruhiro Tsujimoto, has asserted that games are too cheap. Michael, they're too cheap. You're not paying enough for video games. The development costs have gone 100x what they used to be, and that's your fucking problem. And I say that right after I very much made a point of pointing out that they sell 2 different season passes, and you yourself have talked about how much those fucking Ninja Turtles costumes are. Capcom is... The deal, never forget, the deal was that we put up with all of this season pass, microtransaction, online bullshit, expansion packs and whatnot, and you don't raise the price of the video game.
Yeah.
Games cost more, so we have to put a bunch of microtransactions in. Well, I tell you what, Haruhiro, if you want me to pay $100 for Street Fighter 6, I will, as long as you guarantee me that every single thing, they let you buy those coins for Resident Evil 4 that you could trade to the what do you buying guy for the good guns.
Yep.
Like, they let you buy those for real money. Fuck like you guys. Not just that, but as this article points out, Capcom still charges $60 for most of their stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Like, we're in an era where, you know, like, it hasn't slowed people down, things being $70. Like,
because that's the thing about Capcom and actually just fighting games in general is that a lot of them don't only cost $60, $70 anymore.
Yeah. When
you're said and done, because some of them have a lot of season passes that by the time you're done, you've spent almost $200 on the entire thing.
You're doing this year, this 6 months, $30 season pass for some new characters, and then the next one, and then hell, I refunded Mortal Kombat 11 and went and bought the $110 collector's edition last weekend so that I could play it after you and I recorded.
Wait, did you really?
I did. Sony customer service is fucking bad. Like,
it's not great.
Bad. But yeah, I mean, games are more expensive, and I have no problem paying more for games as long as it's not like, you know, I think that they maybe get too much in their head about like, well, we created this horrible problem, and now we're going to make you pay to solve it. And it's like, Did I ask you to do this?
Yeah.
Did I ask you to make a whole open world Street Fighter 6 game? Did I ask you to make Pokemon Go with Monster Hunter? Like, no. Did I ask you to remake Resident Evil 4? Actually, I asked you not to remake Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, we also
and you did it anyway.
That's the one thing you shouldn't do, and you're like, oh, we're gonna do it. You're like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah.
Like, sure, it turned out great, but the issue is that you did it to begin with.
Yes. So I don't know. I get a little on my high horse about like, okay, if you want to raise the price, that's great. But if you raise the price, I better not see a single SKU in your store outside of the one version that has the raised price. There shouldn't be a collector's edition. There shouldn't be a season pass. I shouldn't be able to buy fucking coins or Ninja Turtles or whatever. You should be handing me that shit because you raised the price.
Yeah.
Like,
and if not, it should at least be like only like $2 at max.
and if you think that's not fair, then you can do something besides making video games, because last time I checked, the video game industry is incredibly profitable. So profitable.
Capcom needs to make more pachinko machines, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Go talk to Konami. They're making shitloads of money.
Yeah, they love that shit.
Well, you know what? You know, one way that Capcom's financial woes could be solved is if they were purchased by Microsoft, which is not going to happen.
Thank God for that, by the way.
So there was part of I think it might have been the same interview, might have been a different interview where they talked about how like they're not interested in being acquired. They also made, like, as much as I just bitched that guy out for his previous comments, he talked a lot about how, like, here is the quote, rather than acquire an outside company, we prefer organic growth. It's important to train and develop human resources in-house in order to carry out growth strategies. I also believe we can utilize external partners, but we have intention of acquiring companies. So, like, talking about, and this was in this article, was very well contrasted against Embracer Group, who just hoovered up a bunch of shit, didn't know what they were doing, lost out that round of funding, and then closed down Volition, like, who'd been around for years and years.
Closed down a bunch of people and then fired just a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah,
and they're still going, as far as I know.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, there's something to be said for slow, steady growth that results in, like, stable growth as opposed to exponential growth that then has to be liquidated if your financial winds blow in the wrong direction. So
yeah, that a lot of Japanese studios are very proud of themselves as well, and they don't really like the idea of being bought out by companies in general.
Yep.
That's why a lot of news stories you hear about stuff getting bought out are things like BioWare or Bungie and stuff, all stuff that's like a Western developer.
Yeah.
You rarely ever hear of a Japanese developer getting bought out in any way. You hear about some of them closing, but that's the closest thing.
Hell, even Sony, I feel like they've been trying to acquire From Software for a long time, but the most they got was like a big stake of stock in them, as opposed to, like,
people were pretty sure they were trying to buy Capcom at one point, and they were just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's good. Well, speaking of Microsoft, as I mentioned before, Microsoft did have their own showcase. It's another big one, but we've got 20 minutes, and we're going to try to do as much of this as possible because there's more interesting stuff that happened than this, and I don't want to spend the entire time talking about this. So, let's go. Ori and Ori's friend, I don't remember what Ori's friend is named.
I have no fucking idea.
Are going to be in Party Animals as skins that you can get in Party Animals. That's fun.
I think the Party Animals get away with this game still.
Well, probably because Human Fall Flat and Fall Guys haven't done any updates in like 3 years. So,
well, that's true. What was the name of the other one? That wasn't that. What the fuck was the name?
Gang
of it?
Beast.
Gang
Sorry,
Beast. That's
yeah,
right.
Gang Beast has also not done anything in
Have
a
they
while.
not? Okay,
So,
I guess that makes sense.
we got a big thing for Phoenix Wright. Oh, this was interesting though, talking about playing the game on PC and on your phone. I don't know if that's xCloud, like playing it on your phone with xCloud.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense because these were released on a phone at one point.
Yeah,
so they probably were just using that version of it.
But yes, they're going to be the first Ace Attorney trilogy is already on Game Pass by the time you hear this, and I think they said that the second one is also coming.
It would have to be, yeah.
I think.
I don't think it's coming to Game Pass. I think they're just saying it's coming to their
okay.
console.
I thought it was going to be on Game Pass, but
well, as far as I know, they didn't say it will be. But who knows until it happens.
It's hard to keep track these days of all the shit that Microsoft slings onto Game Pass.
That's true. Now you are on Game Pass, Jeff.
Damn it! RageSelect is on Game Pass now. My patrons. Oh wait, we got a Power World trailer. I don't think I've seen this one before.
Power World's coming to the Xbox.
To the Xbox.
Oh
yeah.
my god, that's the best.
They had some. It was funny. They had some great Pokemon. Like they're actually taking this shit seriously, where they kind of made these characters. War Sect, Pen King, fucking King Paka.
These are all like legitimately good designs for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Is the funniest thing about this entire game.
I like the way that the character customization. You can play multiplayer with your buddies. Everybody can make the poor pals have to work. Your pals are going to get different abilities that you can use to go around. This looks like a good game.
Well, what makes me laugh is the game continues to look like when you go on like Twitter and somebody's like, I made Super Mario on the Unreal Engine or something.
Right.
Like it feels like somebody who made one of those, but somebody legitimately is going to release one of them.
I don't know. I think it looks better than that, to be honest.
No, but but you know what I mean? Like it feels like that's how it started.
Sure.
And then it just sort of like went out of control and then became like a legitimately like nicely. Because when we first saw it, that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
Because we saw this years and years and years ago. It's been quite some time since it was first announced.
Yep.
That I thought it was a joke trailer originally, or one of the ones I was thinking of.
Well, because of the putting your pals in a sweatshop.
Yeah, creating assault rifles.
like yeah. Here's the fucking that fire monkey from Pokemon running through the woods with an AK-47. Like
I can't wait till this comes out because I legitimately want to find out if this is a really good game or not. Because I kind of want it to accidentally overtake
Pokemon.
The Pokemon fans that are now grown up and they're like, I feel like Pokemon's too childish for me now.
Yeah,
but what if I had a minigun?
I loved that I got to show Jason this. He didn't know what it was. I got to show it to him, and he was like, "What is this?" I was like, "It's Power World, baby."
The future. I feel like you should, if Cargill doesn't know about this, I feel like you should send this to him as well.
Oh, that's true.
To be like, Cargill, I can't wait. Are you excited for the new Pokemon, Cargill?
But you know what we're not seeing is where is that other game with the weird doll-faced children?
Yeah.
With all the weird shit where everything is photorealistic except for the anime baby dolls. Like
that one I thought was a joke too originally.
Nope.
The problem is I might still think it is because I haven't seen it since then.
I can't remember what its name is, and I don't know how I remember
was that dance thing they were doing.
Yep.
And that it showed them in different areas. Oh my god! Just thinking about it kind of horrified.
It was horrifying.
Oh, I don't even know how we could find it. I legitimately don't.
I bet I could probably find it, but
patrons, if you could tell us on our Slack, that would be great. I'd love that because I would like to know what it is. The Discord. Sorry.
Phil Spencer came out to talk about how much he loves Japan and the partners and how so many people have taken off from the Japanese airport and fucking Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's like, all right, good? Question mark. So
I found out while Phil was there, he got people walked up to him to ask him to sign things, and they asked him to sign a PS5. And he's like, "Am I allowed to do this?"
They're putting some Japanese racetrack. They're putting in Forza Motorsport. That was an announcement.
The cherry blossoms.
And then let's see, blah, 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 blah. We got some Persona 5 Tactica.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about, like, this one was basically just talking about how there's going to be, like, little challenge missions where it's like, oh, you have to do this in a certain number of turns, or you have to do this without taking damage or whatever, and that you're going to then get rewards for that where you can level up and there's trees and stuff.
That makes sense for a game
kind of
like
talking
that.
about it. Yeah. Get, like, more powerful personas. I don't know, man. I'm real conflicted about this game because on the one hand, I really like Persona, but on the other hand, I just don't like the chibi characters all that much.
Well, we're in this weird time period where for some reason people look at a series and they're like, but what if it was tactics?
Well, I got no problem with that. I just wish they weren't babies. I didn't want the Persona babies.
Yeah, but the thing is that some of those were like that even then because the Gears of War had the pop version of it, which was like that. Yeah. So it's either that or it's like what you liked but not really.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about the Metal Slug one, but that hasn't come out yet. So
yeah, no, I get it. I don't know if we had a release date for that, but it's November 17th. We also got a trailer for Dragon Quest Infinity Strash: The Legend of Dai.
Is this the one that you said was based on the show?
Okay, here's the thing. I think I've got the timeline right here. Dragon Quest is a thing. They create a CG animated show for that skews younger. I think I watched the first episode of it on Netflix called Dragon Quest: The Legend of Dai, and it's very popular. And then they adapt that into like a third-person action game called Infinity Strash Dragon Quest: The Legend of Dai. So it's like the game spawned a show, and that show spawned this game, which is also still in the Dragon Quest universe.
I'm so confused.
I know. Don't worry too much about it. It's
But it explains the character designs and like how they move and stuff.
Yeah,
because they're much more animated than you would see in a normal Dragon Quest type thing.
absolutely. And that game comes out today. It's out the day we're recording. So
Okay.
at some point we might have to take a look at it. Let's see. Talked about there's Infinity Strash. Oh yeah, Octopath Traveler 2 is coming to the Xbox at some point next year.
Well, that's fun.
Which is cool. I hear that game was really good. I just didn't
People
ever get a
loved it.
chance to turn around.
Trier really loved it.
Let's see. I think from there we got this is Althea, The Wrath of Eferi. I think this game looks kind of bad. It's these two guys talking about they made this game. It's like kind of a two people kind of cinematic puzzle otherworldly thing. Something about it just ain't grabbing me. It looks a little too loose and empty, and
Well, it's very much it very much feels like this is one of their first big games.
Yeah.
And they're just not there yet. Like it feels like something that would have came out in the 360 arcade time frame.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah. No, it does. It does.
But
To me, it reminded me of what was that? Journey of the Pathless.
Oh, yeah.
Pathless.
That sounds right.
Where it was
yeah.
a little empty, and I was
Yeah.
like, it's just a little too empty for me. And I don't know. I'm not into puzzles as much as this game seems to be into puzzles. So
Well, a lot of these indie games tend to be puzzle heavy
yeah.
because they can't do too much outside of that.
So yeah, that's coming soon. We got a trailer for Mineko's Night Market, or Miniko, or I don't know how to say it. That game came out. Well, that game is coming out in October 26th on the PlayStation and the Xbox. It is already out on the PC and the Switch because Amanda and I recorded a video on it that is out today. So it seems like it's another one of these like Stardew Valley kind of like you're moving to a village, you're doing a bunch of stuff. You start by picking flowers and then you craft stuff.
People love that shit.
Yep. And it's going to be on Game Pass later on in October. Persona 3 had a very brief thing where they talk about this gauge that can be maxed out called the Theurgy gauge, where when you max it out, it's like a new mechanic they added where when you max it out, apparently you can do like super attacks with some of the personas.
Oh, yeah, because that wasn't a thing in the original one.
Yeah.
Because I have friends that were very confused by it. They're like, they're adding things? I'm like, I guess.
They know they're adding, and well, it seems they're redoing the whole thing. It's not like supposed to be a 1-to-1,
Which I'm fine with, because there was. I remember there was a reason a lot of people were originally upset because it wasn't like the FES edition or whatever the fuck it was called. Mm-hmm. But if it's like wasn't a 1-to-1 to begin with, then that probably would work out fine.
I cannot express to you in stronger terms, Michael. But in the next 12 months, we're going to hear an announcement that or if not an announcement, then we're going to hear a news story that says an FES expansion is in development for Persona 3.
Most likely.
I mean, they put out the Royale version of 5. They put out 5, and then 2 years later, Royale version. Put out 3. If you want, don't play 3. There's obviously going to be probably a second version of 3 that comes out that has all the FES stuff added back into it. But, yeah. Just wait.
I hope it turns out good, because Persona 3 was the one that got me into the series originally.
Yeah. It's going to be on Game Pass in February. Let's see. They had an ad for the Atlantic City expansion for Fallout 76.
Oh, okay.
That's actually going to end up being so big that they're dividing it into 2 parts. Cool.
Good for them.
You're not going to... I'm not doing it, Bethesda. I ain't going to play that game.
No. If I wasn't playing it now, I'm not going to get into it anytime soon.
I mean, it looks nice and everything, and I'm sure that you guys have done a lot of work on it, but like... hey, Elder Scrolls Online looks fun, but I'm not playing it.
Nope. But good for the people who are still playing it.
Yep.
Because you guys are finally past the I fucked up for almost 2 years straight sequence.
Sure.
And you're back to what it probably should have been when it came out.
You know what? I'll give you Fallout 76. I will give you the Cyberpunk 2077 benefit of the doubt. Whenever you say this is the final update, we've done everything we're going to do. This is the end of service. We're going to keep the servers on, but there will be no more feature additions to the game. Maybe I'll go back and check it out one more time to be like, did you actually fix it? But I don't trust you.
No, I definitely don't trust them still.
So yeah, the first one of those coming out December 5th. And also they've got like a beta server that's up that you can play right now.
Okay.
Wulong is getting a DLC with some kind of like little monkey pirate lord guy.
Okay.
Which I believe is, if I get to the end of this, is already out.
I forgot that even was the thing.
Yeah. And then also they put in like one of the swords and an umbrella from Liza P is like crossover
What
for
a strange
Wulong.
thing to do. Sure, I guess.
Yeah, the Conqueror of Jiangdong, which is out by the time you hear this. We got a lot of information about Yakuza, or Like a Dragon, I should say. It's not Yakuza anymore.
Yep.
Man who erased his name
God-given name.
is going to be both Like a Dragon Ishin and The Man Who Erased His Name are going to be on Game Pass, which is good. After that crazy story last week about how they accidentally got the rights or got the next gen version like for 3 months.
It's fucking crazy.
It was so weird how that happened. I had to read it like 4 times to understand what the fuck
it took me a
they
while.
were saying.
I was like, I don't understand what this means.
Yeah. They talk a lot about how like it sounds like when they started making Infinite Wealth that they like wrote some backstory about like how does Kiryu Kazama show up in Infinite Wealth, but then they were like, what if we just made a game that explained that? Because they all take place in a similar location.
Yeah.
And you've got. Do you think they have a model for Kiryu Kazama that they could put in a video game where he punches a guy? Oh shit! Okay.
Oh, absolutely. They probably also have the Kenshiro one still somewhere that they could add to it.
Yeah.
Because fuck it.
Dude, there was a 10-minute trailer last week for Infinite Wealth that spoiled some big plot points. I was like,
Yeah.
What?
It was kind of insane what they did with that.
Holy shit. Like, they were just like, Stop telling me the story of this game. I would like to do it.
I would have liked to have found out a lot of this stuff organically.
Yeah.
Is
Anyway,
that the one where it mentioned what the Kiryu's...
don't say it.
No, not that. His mechanic in the game where, like, if you're low enough health, he's just like, no more turn-based. I'm just going to beat the shit out of you.
Oh,
mechanic.
no.
Did you not know about that?
No.
So for Kiryu's, like, one of his character specific things is that if you're low enough health, you just go into Yakuza mode and then you just basically shatter the turn base and then you just beat the shit out of the enemies.
Wow, that's cool. I love it. Yeah. Let's see. From there, we got a trailer for Aiden Chronicles 100 Heroes. A game that I forgot about until it started coming back up in this context. This is from the guy that made Suikoden.
Oh, okay.
It was a Kickstarter that was a long time ago. What, 2 years ago they had that? It was like a spin-off game.
Yeah, because we talked about
with the kangaroo
some
guy.
of this last time.
Yeah.
And it might have been a different trailer they had.
This is a different trailer.
Yeah.
This one is more of a synopsis about the game world and like what's going on and how you're gonna have to get together your heroes. It's got a lot. It shows a lot more than the previous one that we saw. So
good for them.
Yeah, it looks good. Let's see. Still not a big fan of the 2D, 3D stuff. They talk about the games that are already on Game Pass. They talk about they're talking about Elder Scrolls Online is going to be fully localized and out in Japan within a month or something like that.
Cool.
They talk about PUBG.
Man, they really put a lot of money in that PUBG thing.
Yep.
They were really excited to hopefully that PUBG would be the thing that everyone would buy an Xbox for.
I don't know why anybody would buy PUBG, but it's coming out in Japan in October, or there's expansions coming out in October.
I still remember when they sold copies of it. It was just a case with a download code in it.
Right.
That was fucking weird.
So my lovely Empress is, there are 3 games. John and I played My Lovely Child, My Lovely Daughter, and then there was My Lovely Wife, and now there is My Lovely Empress. And so those first 2 games were about a man whose daughter died and a man whose wife died, and he ends up getting into weird necromancy and summoning big booba demons in order to suck up enough. I know, though, the one with the wife specifically, he's putting the demons in brothels to get enough soul energy to like try to resurrect his dead wife. And like, it's kind of a visual novel, but also like a role-playing game. And in this one, you're like an emperor whose wife died, and so you're resurrecting. Like, you can either try to resurrect her, or you can go and date other empresses. But no matter what you do, there's a bunch of crazy demon ladies with giant boobs.
That's so weird. Good for them, I guess, for finding such a weird niche.
So, okay, but here's a weird thing, Michael. Okay, so like, look at this character, right? This is just giant Chewbacca lady with she got like monster everything but boobs, but then like lady boobs in the middle. So
she's wearing like a crop top kind of thing.
Yeah. So later on in this trailer, they're talking about the development of this game, and they say that like they're like 3D rendering these characters. Now, that did not look like a 3D render to me.
No.
When I saw it, it looked like a puppet that had been animated, which is what the style was of the other ones. But in the end, they showed that same Chewbacca lady, but as a 3D model, and I'm like, because like I didn't realize that a lot of those Hades characters were 3D versions.
Oh, in Hades
for a little while. So I don't know if like. What what I'm looking at when they show these characters, are these like 3D characters that have been flattened? Like when I'm seeing them here, because they do not look like it. They look like straight up paper doll puppets.
Well, it's possible because that's kind of how they did it for Bolt Gun. Because in Bolt Gun, I remember reading a blog post on PlayStation where they're like, everybody's completely 3D animated, but we set it in a way that makes them look like the old school, like, way they would, like a Duke Nukem
like
2D would look kind of thing, where it's like a 2D version of it.
And they just turn between the different...
Yeah, and I'm like, that's really interesting, because for some reason, for some of them, it's easier to just, I'm going to make them 3D, and then you just trick you into thinking they're not.
Okay.
Than it is for them to just make a 2D one.
All right.
I don't know why that is the case, but sure, if that's the case, good for you guys.
I don't know. We'll find out more as time goes on. Exoprimal, that's kind of all the same stuff they talked about with Exoprimal from the Capcom one.
Yeah, Microsoft's really bad about doing that sort of thing, or vice versa.
Okay, so then we finished with this. I don't know. Did you watch the trailer?
I did, actually.
For, what is it called? Like Hotel Barcelona?
Yeah.
Suda 50. Okay, so I love this. This is the thing I love the most, is they got Swery 65 and Suda 51 sitting in chairs like, we're making a game. And they put their names up, and it says, written and directed by Swery 65, original idea by Suda 51. And I'm like, so Suda 51 was just like, why don't you do this and this and this and this? And then Swery was like, okay, I'll make it all happen.
Yeah. It's also not the type of game I thought they were going to make.
Nope, not at all. But I think it looks like awesome.
Oh, it does. No, of course it does.
So it's a 2D action game where you're playing as a character in a time loop. So if you die, you start over again. And one of the things with the time loop is that when you start over, when you redo the time loop, you're like the previous version of yourself is there as like a shadow that attacks with you and stuff. But then what you're doing is you're fighting your way through these kind of 2D... they look like they're roguelike, like with this... It looks like the levels are set up in a randomized way, because there's this map at the bottom that shows like a progression on a grid.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that all of the levels are based on like American horror movies with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah.
Like and
Which they're great at.
almost actionable. Like in some of these.
On some
like,
of them, you're like, that's clearly just this fucking movie.
So there's this one is Chainsaw Sausage from Hell, which is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, except it's a 3-headed animal in a wheelchair. It's literally got a wheelchair
it's
and a
literally
mohawk.
wheelchair. And I kind of love that because I love that joke so much.
And then there's one that's like alien, like a xenomorph. Like if you look at the I had to stop, I had to pause and look at the things, but there's a xenomorph that's like but it's also a lady with big xenomorph boobs.
It's also got giant boobs.
And like a dick. And then there's the Zillion, the monster shark. What do you get when you cross an AI with a shark? Pure murderation.
That one I like because that one's pretty creative.
Like I like all of these. I can't wait for this. Is going to be some kind of trash, and I love it. This is the kind of trash that I like. It's like that sweary game where you could like parts of your body would get broken or cut off.
Oh yeah,
and then they would regenerate or whatever.
I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a lot of insane. Like this sort of thing is right up their alley. Again, it's not the type of game I would have expected out of them.
Yeah,
but but the more you look at it, it becomes more a game that you would expect out of them.
Yes, yes. And it looks like White Owls, which is Suda or Swery's company, is making it, and then it's mostly just kind of got like idea and moral support from Suda 51.
Yeah. It's very much right up there at both their alleys, and I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, me too. I think it looks like the sort of thing that could be, again, a very sweary / Suda thing of like, is this the best game I've ever played? No, but it's fun and I love the concept. So,
100%. That's what they're the best at.
Yep, Hotel Barcelona.
They make B-movie type games is the best way of putting them.
Yes, yes. And that was it. That was the end. That was the last thing they showed. I'm probably more excited for Hotel Barcelona than I am for anything else that was in there.
Well, nothing else in there was as distinctly insane, if that makes sense. Like a Dragon is the second thing that I would be the most excited about, but we hear about news about that all the time.
I did a 10-minute trailer full of spoilers last week.
Yeah,
well, that was for Infinite Wealth, but
which I regret watching.
Yeah, me too. I kind of wish that they would have been more coy in the marketing that Like a Dragon. I wish that they had been like, who is the character in Like a Dragon? The man who sold his name. Who could it be? Like, obviously, we would all know who it would be. But I wish that they were more coy with the information.
Well, because not everybody watches these things, so it would have been more interesting for it to be more coy. Also, yeah, look at that character design.
that xenomorph lady has a huge dick, like there's huge ovipositor.
It's fucking creepy.
Ovipositor dick.
It's a great design outside of the giant rack and the fucking crotch.
And then there's Texas Chainsaw chicken-headed guy. It's so weird. And then there's a slasher slugger who's basically like Jason Voorhees, but he's a baseball guy instead of
which is pretty fun actually. I'm actually surprised that there aren't more of those. But I know they exist.
Did you see that? I didn't realize that before. He's got the baseball glove and he like powers it up and then just flips the character off.
Oh, he does. That's shit. That's amazing.
Anyway, yeah, go watch the trailer for Hotel Barcelona. It's probably the coolest thing in there. Anyway, with that, we are at just about 1 hour exactly, so we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. But hold on to your butts because we have a whole fucking smorgasbord of news left to go. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, we've already had so much news. How could there be more news? Well, guess what? There's more news. The news doesn't stop. First up, hey, it's been like a month and a half since we talked about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger.
Has it really?
Or something along those lines. The last time that we heard, the FTC case had swung their way, and they were going back to the CMA to try to get approval. And I think you and I talked about the last one, which was this goofy fucking scheme that they are going to sell the cloud rights to Ubisoft.
Was that really a month and a half
for like 10 to 15 years or something like that? Huh. And this week, the CMA put out a statement saying, like, yeah, okay. Like, if you do that, if you sell the streaming rights if you sell the cloud rights in Britain. I'm not sure if it's Britain or all of Europe, to Ubisoft, and all that weird shit about how Ubisoft can pay Microsoft to make something available on the
Very
X Cloud.
strange,
It's
yeah.
very weird.
Very strange, like wording to the deal.
Yep. Anyway, 2 years after we first started talking about this, it looks like it's going to happen. So,
Man, has it really been that long since it got announced?
it's been it was every week for a while there.
Fucking hell.
Like I don't know. I guess it depends on whether you go all the way back to 2020 and the beginning of the because. Well, it's like the whole thing started with all of the employment stuff at Activision Blizzard.
Oh, yeah.
And then that led up to the sale, and then that led up to the question about the sale.
Well, there was the unionizing thing first before the sale.
Yeah, and the unionizing that was happening kind of during some of the other stuff. So, yeah, but it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like you cannot stop the Microsoft when they put their money to it.
Yeah.
There was also a really weird thing that happened where
That Bobby Kotick picture makes me uncomfortable.
was it with this where so there was a picture where the CMA treasurer was at like a meeting at Activision, and like Bobby Kotick is literally sitting next to him, and everybody's smiling and having a good time.
Yeah, they definitely have paid for some dinners.
And then they used that meme that you've seen that one before,
Yeah.
right?
From Dark.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
They're all cowards. That's from that show that's, I forget the name of it, Dark Places?
Dark something, yeah.
It's really good. It's all on Amazon Prime.
I need to go watch that.
It's really funny.
It's got Matt Berry in it, and I like Matt Berry.
And Chris and his wife let me know that all the special feature commentary episode versions are all on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So eventually, and they do the commentaries in character the whole time.
Nice. So yeah, that's the end of an era, and in the beginning of the new era of will all the doom that was predicted come to pass? Will there be no Doom? Or is it something weird like Ubisoft owns the streaming rights for Microsoft games that none of us could predict moving forward?
It's going to be weird. We're no longer going to use BC or AD, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to go to MA, Microsoft Activision.
Okay.
Start a whole new year. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
That's how big the shit is.
Yep. It's going to be huge. It's going to be big, and we're going to get to see whether...
I'm also open to suggestions for the different year time.
What about AA, after acquisition?
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of acquisitions, so you'd have to sort of like
we got
time it down.
No, we got to do that thing where we work backwards from the acronym. So we want the acronym to be ASS. So it's like after subsidiary sale. So it's after ass. It's ass. We're in the ass era now. So
I'm cool with that.
there we go. Not just that, we had another big company. Unity has walked all that shit. Well, sort of.
They walked a lot of it back.
Walked all that shit back.
All the stuff that pissed off people the most.
Yes. So, okay, what happened with Unity? You all know the preamble. Unity came out. They literally had their president, the Unity Create president, put out a blog post that started with, "First off, I'm sorry."
I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry. So here's what's going to happen. Probably what should have happened in the first place. The runtime stuff is still going to happen, but in a different way. First, they've implemented the same thing that Epic Games does, where anybody currently that sticks with the current version of Unity, none of this applies to.
No.
It only kicks in if the new version that's coming out next year, so it'll only be applied to that. Second, it's not going to be ubiquitous across the board. I actually learned when I was reading this, I believe that if you go above 200,000 in sales, you don't get to keep using Unity Personal anymore. Like, you can publish a game with Unity Personal, but if it goes over a certain amount, then it's like, well, you have to.
Yeah, at that point,
Microsoft can't be like, yeah, we made My Lovely Empress on Unity Personal, and so we don't have to pay you anything.
Do nothing.
So, but anything below that, nothing, nada, zero, zilch, nothing. None of the back catalog stuff is going to happen. If you go over $1 million and 1 million initial engagement / installs, then they are going to do this thing But what they're doing now is it's going to be 2.5% revenue share or the 20 cent per install charge, whichever is lower. So they specifically said they're going to do the calculations, whatever is lower. Also, there's some verbiage in here about how like those numbers are supposed to be self-reported by the people that are using Unity. They seem to have dropped this nebulous, like, well, we'll know. And everybody was like, because that was the part that was the most freaky to me, was like, what do you mean you'll know? Like,
it's like, yeah, you were saying something incredibly illegal out loud.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry, we're following all your data against every possible rule imaginable. You're like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Right. Like, Europe might have something to say about that.
Europe and California would be very interested to hear what you just said out loud.
Yeah. So that happens. That's going to be the way that it goes. And then the other thing, though, that was kind of interesting was this is from a Polygon article. Games on subscription services like Xbox Game Pass or Netflix games will have to pay the runtime fee. The company said that studios should talk to publishers to work with Unity on a mutually beneficial agreement regarding the fees. So
that's still really dumb because you're just saying out loud that they'll be fine with it.
Well,
you didn't bother asking them.
Yeah. In some ways, I mean, in some ways when you put your game on Game Pass or you're on Netflix or PlayStation Plus or one of those other ones, like, you are giving up some autonomy to how your game is marketed and distributed and how many people are going to be doing that. So I do kind of think that putting the onus on the big corporation that's handling that, I guess what it remains to be seen about whether, like, does Microsoft then punt that fee back to the devs, or
That's
are they just
thing.
like, we'll take care of it, don't worry about it, we'll roll it into whatever we're paying you for the Game Pass?
That's the thing. It all depends on if they say yes or not to it. That's the thing that was always really weird about the idea of it, was they're like, yeah, they'll say yes to it. It's like, but that's not
right.
You should have discussed this ahead of time to see if this is a viable situation first before ever going anywhere. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. If they're still adamant that this is the way it's going to go.
Yes. This is not like the best thing, but this also isn't everybody needs to stop using Unity immediately and fucking like burn the internet down type of thing.
Yeah, but the problem is they lost so much goodwill so fast.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, the thing is that what I think what I didn't really realize was the fact that I still am not entirely certain about this because I never tried to do it before, but as I understand it, Unity is easier to program with than like some of the other alternatives, like the Epic Unreal Engine, and that you can start a project with Unity without paying anything. You can literally publish it without paying anything on the personal version, and then like at a certain threshold, then it starts to kick in. Okay, like you have to pay the piper. But that's a really interesting business model to be like being able to let people use that engine up front. I didn't really realize that when I was talking about this. I'm just like, go over to Epic, and I mean, like, Epic lets people put stuff together. Like, you can use it for free, but if you want to publish a game, I believe you have to pay at least something.
Well, Unity was a very beginner-friendly thing, and it was so beginner-friendly in that aspect is that it was being used as an educational tool for game development kind of classes, because so many people were looking into needing people with Unity backgrounds because of how easy it was to start for a lot of these game companies.
Right.
And that was great. It was going great for them. Yeah. They built up a lot of trust with that, how beginner-friendly they were. I get why they thought they could pull something like this, but the problem is they went too high too fast. Yeah. They thought it was a negotiation when that wasn't how they presented it. And then what made it worse was how they were treating their terms of service. Yes. Which was even weirder. Yeah. Did you see that tweet that they did?
I don't know which one.
The tweet about why they took down the terms of service at one point?
No, I didn't see that.
This was the most batshit insane thing because it's clearly a lie. Yeah. They're like, look, guys, the way you guys are framing that we took our terms of service makes us sad. We took it down because the views were too low. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It is a legal document, right? Not a social media post,
right? This isn't Twitter.
Take it down because your views are low? That doesn't make any sense to anyone. Yeah. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
That's some that's some shit that somebody thought up and it was bad. Well,
yeah, it was bad. It was
like
it's the worst explanation I've ever heard.
I think that at the end of the day, that this whole thing with Unity is a really good reminder, right? That like I think that sometimes, especially people like you and I who have dealt either currently or in the past with like making sure that your shit is together in like a corporate way, tend to forget that a lot of times the fucking yahoos that run these places with their expensive suits, they don't have that in their mind.
No.
And they are just like, well, I am the golden god. I'm going to tell these fucking bottom dwellers what they're going to pay me. They will lick my boots and love it. And it's like, well, sir, it's not going that way. Please don't do that. And then they're like, no, I am the golden god. Like, you don't understand. Like, I told them, why are these peasants talking back to me? And at a certain point, it has to be like, okay, listen, if you want to keep making money, you have to address this. Like, you can't ride this one out.
You have to negotiate some way.
Yes.
Because we've all, not all, but a lot of, like, I know me and you have definitely have been part of a company at some point who has made a decision very much like this.
Yes.
And then they're like, but why is this happening? You're like, are you serious?
I told you why that was going to go that way.
We can tell you
didn't believe me.
10 different ways right now that you could fix this. And you're like, but no. You're like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
And then they concede. There's like, they use like half of those things. And then it works out like it dies down enough that people are cool with it.
Yeah.
This was an instance where they angered too many people is really what happened. They went too high, like I said.
Yeah. They probably thought that they could put it out there, people would be mad, and then they would forget about it, and then they would keep going.
Yeah.
But that's not really the environment that we're in anymore, where it's like, nah, man, we'll cancel companies. Like, we'll cancel a whole company.
Not only that, we will turn your name into a verb.
Right.
Very easily, which happened. People were like, well, I don't want you to pull a Unity. Right. That is now in the vernacular, and it's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yep.
So you have fucked yourself. I am sorry.
Yep. We'll see whether it fucks them. I mean, all I have to say is that whatever they put into that new update to the engine that they want to charge money for better be fucking amazing, because otherwise you just keep using old versions of Unity.
Look, Jeff, the new non-alcoholic version of Duff is going to sell better than ever.
Yeah. Let's see from there. Oh yes, we did have one brief note. This is before this whole thing happened, but the devs for Terraria, this was really interesting. Not putting your money where your mouth is. They came out with a statement where they basically said that they are going to be donating $100,000 each to Godot and FNA, which are Unity competitor engines,
my God.
as well as paying both of them $1,000 a month just to give to people to do projects in those engines.
That's amazing.
I guess Terraria's really made up a lot of money.
Yeah, they gave them fuck you money in a way that I didn't think is the kind of way you're supposed to use fuck you money.
Yeah,
and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, so that's a good one. We'll see if anything happens from that. Let's see. Speaking of weird, bad corporate stuff, Sony got hacked. There's a big old Sony hack that happened. The hackers that hacked them was a ransomware group called ransom.fc. Apparently, they tried to get Sony to ransom, and Sony said no, and so they put out a statement saying, we won't ransom them, we will sell their data due to Sony not wanting to pay. Data is for sale in all capitals. Now, I couldn't find anything about this today, but the day that we're recording this, they also set as a date where if nobody bought anything by this day, they were just going to dump the entire leak onto the dark web. But basically,
it's easier for them to just not pay.
Right.
Everyone's just going to wait.
Right.
That's stupid.
Yep.
You just told everyone that you want to pay to buy it to just be like, if you wait long enough, we'll just give it to you for free.
Yeah.
It's like the fighting game. If you wait long enough, you get all the characters.
So yeah, they showed a few things to prove that they had information and that it seems like they have less than 6,000 files. Their statement was that, like, we hacked everything. It's too late. We hacked everything. Cyber Security Connect, which is like a hacking consulting firm, said like, okay, less than 6,000 files is not everything. This is like
not only that, like apparently what they sent was like all PowerPoint presentations.
Well, no,
so
that
wasn't even that interesting.
They showed an internal login page and PowerPoint presentation to outline to show that they had information.
Yeah, but none of that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like, that makes it sound like all you did was, we hacked your intern, possibly.
Maybe. So, yeah, I don't know. If this comes to anything, we'll know, like, next week. Because right now, there's not much to do. Turn that microphone down a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Sorry, I was slouching.
In other PlayStation news, Jim Ryan is retiring from PlayStation.
People are getting really weird about this one because they're like, is he retiring with quotes or is he retiring?
What do you what? What does the quote retirement mean?
It's when it's like, hey, I'm retiring, wink, wink, when it's like, and the people in the back are like, you better be fucking retiring kind of thing.
Oh.
Like the being pushed out version of retiring.
Yeah.
Because like the reason people are speculating about that is, one, how Jim Ryan handled the Activision Blizzard stuff.
Yeah.
Because especially a lot of the stuff we used against them were quotes from Jim himself.
Oh, that's true.
And two, one of them is this hack thing.
Yeah.
So it's like very much like these two things back to back were very much like, Jim, you're making it look kind of bad kind of thing.
I can see it.
But honestly, his explanation for why he's leaving, it makes more sense because Jim Ryan has been fucking dominating the gaming market for like 3 decades.
Right.
So it's honestly, he most likely is retiring of his own volition.
Yeah, or it could just be a combination, right? It could be a combination of the things where it's like, you made some oopsies and like, aren't you about ready to get out of here? Like, because apparently part of his statement said that he like, he works in the United States and lives in Europe.
Yeah, he's tired of traveling.
Constantly fucking going across.
And being on a plane as many times as I have, which is not a lot. And the few times I had, I wanted to kill myself. So I get it.
Especially those. I've been to Europe one time and like, boy howdy, is there a difference between like a 14-hour flight and like a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, So
I can't blame him for being like, I can't do this shit anymore.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, we'll see if that makes any appreciable difference. I do though. It's funny. I hadn't really put together what you were talking about with like all of the bad Jim Ryan quotes during the whole thing.
A lot of it was him specifically,
and the fact that like that it probably wasn't a great look. There's probably some people who are just like, the entire FTC defense was just like, Jim Ryan had their hand up their fucking backside, like puppeting. Like the judge was like, well, this sounds like it's bad for Sony, not bad for like the consumer.
And literally the person we're talking about.
Right.
Like, but Sony's a consumer. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah,
Stop doing that.
So anyway.
Corporations are people, they said.
Speaking of people leaving with kind of weird circumstances, Hideki Kamiya is leaving Platinum Games.
This one caught me completely the fuck off guard.
Yep. He's not retiring from gaming.
No.
He's just leaving Platinum.
Of all things.
Which, not just that, but like we also have that, what's the third in the Beautiful Joe thing? Or is Beautiful Joe
I forgot what they called it. The something trilogy.
What was it called? Project...
Because each
Project
one was like
GG.
based on like one specific thing kind of thing. Beautiful Joe was like the Combinator type thing. Mm. And then there was the Wonderful 101, which is more of like a Power Ranger type thing.
Yep.
And then the last thing was supposed to be like an Ultraman thing.
Yep. But yeah, he says he's leaving, but he's not going to stop making games, and so that makes me think that set of circumstances and the fact that there's an outstanding project of Platinum Games makes me think that something happened internally that they were like, all right, you got like. Maybe he was just going too hard on Soul Cresta or whatever that game is that they put out, and they were just like, "You got to get out of here, man."
I know there was a point where he got into an argument about something on the internet that everybody was upset with him about, and I can't remember it. For life of me, I can't remember what it was over. So that could be part of it.
There's a Bayonetta 3 thing with.
I don't remember. It was a huge thing because everybody was on his ass about it, and he was blocking people like crazy, even more than he's normally known for.
Yeah,
because that's the other joke that's happening right now. Is they're like, Kamiya's retiring. Like, are you sure? Because I'm blocked and I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see if he does other stuff. We'll see what happens.
I'll follow him. Hopefully he's the reasons he left were not really bad reasons.
I mean, the other thing is that like Platinum has been on a weird. They've been weird, like
they've been
for
on
a little while now.
Downslope for quite some time,
but
but also in a weird. I don't. Not even a downslope. It's like they sloped down and then they just stayed at a very middle ground.
Yeah.
Of like, it's a 50-50 chance this will be a good game or just one of the worst things you've ever played in your life.
Right. Right. So yeah, maybe he just needs to get out there and get some fresh air. Speaking of things getting taken off of things, all of the FIFA games are no longer available for sale.
Oh no. Anyways.
So, I mean, like, this is weird. I mean, we should have, predicted this, but I don't care.
It was going to happen. Like, this isn't unheard of.
Yep.
This happens all the time. The only thing that's different about this is I feel like we were not given a heads up about it.
Yes. Nobody was told ahead of time this is going to happen. For anybody who doesn't know, EA no longer has the contract with FIFA to make FIFA games. The next game, which is coming out in like a week or two, is EA Sports FC 24, their own internal football club game.
Yeah.
And so part of this is the fact that all the FIFA games apparently at this point need to be taken down. I think this is a very good example of why FIFA are bastards. FIFA is a bastard man.
Well, FIFA's a bastard man, but it's also another check mark in the physical for life checkbox.
Yeah.
Because this happens constantly. People are like, I'll buy that when it goes on sale or something.
Yep.
On the digital store, and then it just never does because they disappear. A lot of games people love aren't being archived in the way that they should be, and especially with how so many consoles are leaning towards having a digital only console.
Yep.
This is the very type of thing that you should be worried about.
Yep. Even though this is, if there was ever an example of something that was kind of lower on the totem pole, like most sports games get traded in when the new one comes out.
Yeah.
Nobody's like super big into playing the older versions of sports games. Well, don't at me. I'm sure somebody is doing it, but like the majority of people are just looking for the newer one because it matches what's going on in the sport directly.
That's the only reason this one isn't as worrisome, is because there probably is a warehouse full of these that GameStop has had for like $3 that you can buy for $3 for a while.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like that for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, is anybody out there will be like, oh, you know what? My favorite FIFA is like FIFA 18. I really need my copy of, but I haven't bought it yet.
Yeah.
So, I was going to buy FIFA 18 this weekend, but then they took it off It's like, yes, I understand what you were saying, but by the same token, that. So
it's because the times where it gets worrisome are the licensed like movie type games and stuff like that, or comic ones. That's where you end up running into times where you can only buy Ultimate Spider-Man for the PS2 for like $100,
right?
Kind of thing, because you can't play it on anything else. Yeah, like that's that kind of example. This example is the exact opposite, but it's the start. But it's a good example of like even the biggest things that have a lot of these are not safe from that idea.
Yeah.
So yeah,
true, very true.
10 years from now, that FIFA 18 will be worth $20 instead of $3.
I made the bold statement last week on the podcast that like I understand why people get concerned about this stuff. I don't really care though, because I don't want to play FIFA 18, and for the most part, somebody sent in a question, we talked about it, where I'm just like, I'm not interested in playing old games anymore. Like, there's enough new games that I want to play new games. I don't want to go back and play old games. I'm just kind of done. And
I get it. Yeah.
The thing is that there's some PS2 library stuff that I'd be interested in, but that shit has been like horribly locked up behind hardware limitations for a long time, like emulator problems and stuff like that. So,
well, that's the thing. Those are lucky in the fact that they're things that could be worked on. Yeah. There's some games that were not so lucky. I think is the unfortunate aspect of that. Also, my brain is so stuck in pop culture mode that every time I hear somebody be like, I now understand, my first thought is why you cry.
Oh. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, God, we gotta go faster. Gotta go fast. Let's get our Sonic on. Meta Quest 3. Okay. Cameron Monaghan, a.k.a. Cal Kestis, basically just came out and was like on a panel, and this is the story that we've seen over and over again. Actors do not understand embargoes and not talking about stuff. Who was just like, yeah, we've been working on that third Jedi Survivor game. Yeah, we're real deep into it right now. We're totally doing all kinds of work. Everybody's having a great time, and we're a super happy family. And everybody was like, The third what now?
The funny thing is that the reason I think he did this is because he's not allowed to talk about anything else.
Right.
And he's like, what can I talk about? He's like, oh, my video game stuff. And then he just blurted it out without thinking about what he was saying out loud.
So yeah, there's going to be a third Star Wars Jedi : game, I guess is what we're calling this franchise.
Just the Jedi trilogy at this point.
But by the same token, I did cut a story last week. This is kind of strange, where Stig Asmussen, who was like the director on those two games, the guy from Respawn, left Respawn.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like he said that he wanted to make 3 of these, but then he left Respawn, and it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it'll be bad. Maybe the third one will be real bad. I don't know.
It all depends on what he did outside of being, the director of it, kind of thing. If he had nothing to do with the full writing of it, then it probably has a good shot. Yeah. Especially if they just use the same engine stuff and they just tweak it in a way. It probably will just it probably won't be like the difference between Arkham Asylum and City, kind of thing. But it'll still be like a decent trilogy at that point.
Sure.
That's the hope, at least.
Yep. Let's see. Video game voice actors and like motion capture performers may be going on strike. So right in November, the part of the SAG-AFTRA union that deals with voice actors and motion capture people started renegotiating their contracts with the video game industry. Those negotiations are ongoing. They have not been able to reach a settlement just yet. And those voice actors and motion capture people took an internal vote to basically pre-approve a strike, if necessary, to put in the back pocket of the negotiators when they go in to talk with the companies about this. So
this is a hugely bold thing. This is huge. It's massive because video gaming has worked really hard to not let anybody get a piece of the pie.
Yeah,
is the best way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like and actors, and there's so many times where they'll just hire non-union people too.
Yes,
that happens a lot. I'm curious to see what will happen here.
Well, one of the big concerns with this is that they talk about how when you're doing motion capture, a lot of times there's not like a film director there. It's like the animation director for the game who doesn't what was the quote? They were like, you can't make somebody squat for 20 minutes straight. The human body won't do that.
Yeah.
And because they're just like, well, we have to get these animations, and so they asked them to do these things over and over and over again. Like the in that panel where the Cal Kestis guy was talking about it, somebody asked about what was the weirdest thing that they did in a motion thing. And he talked about how you can't do anything when you're doing motion capture that obscures your face. So, like, if you're going to drink something, it's like you'll hold your arm down by your chest and then tilt the thing and then tilt your head back and make like a... And then later on, they will move that arm up so that it lines up with your mouth.
Yeah.
Or if two characters kiss, this is why it always looks wrong. They have to just kiss the air near each other because they can't cover their faces because of the way the mocap rigs go. And so, yeah, a lot of this is like people are being asked to do work that would not be allowed in like a Hollywood sense because you have really established rules about how much people can do, what kind of physicality they can have,
stunts,
whatnot.
Stunts and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas there was a quote in one of those that's like, there's no wardrobe changes.
Right.
There's no resetting up some stuff.
Yep.
So it's like you're going to get thrown on the ground
over and over and over again
for 8 hours.
Yep.
And that's not going to be great.
Yeah. Which, like... Well, good. I don't think people should be thrown on the ground for 8 hours straight.
There's so many things. This has been such a long time coming.
Yeah.
Especially since Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 was the camel that broke the back of so many voice actors because it was like, I recorded this game and 10 years later Grand Theft Auto 5 has made billions of dollars and
$7 billion. I looked it up.
Nothing out of it, kind of thing. And that's happened with the voice actor for Nico in Grand Theft Auto 4.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, here's $100,000. By the way, we sold like almost $1 billion worth of this game. And he's like, I saw nothing from that. And that's one of the reasons people are certain that Grand Theft Auto 4 hasn't had as much love after that is because the voice actor for Nico has had such a bad taste in the mouth.
Sure.
And Rockstar is just like, we don't even want to approach this fucking thing.
Yeah, it's why do you think we have 2 DLCs and the only lines from Nico Bellic are ones that are like recycled from the main game?
Yeah, exactly. And he's not the guy you use in any of those DLCs either.
Yep. Even though those are good DLCs and I liked them, but
they were great, and they're the last like really good single player DLCs Rockstar ever did.
But yeah, so yeah, we'll see what happens. As I said, the day that we're recording this, they're going in to do that. I'm a big fan of letting people have more royalties. I honestly think that like royalties to me are like the fairest thing for writers, actors, voice actors, stunt people, motion capture people, whatnot. Like, if the game flops, right, don't worry about it. I will go back to my apartment. Don't even bother. Like, don't send me a check for 1 cent. I don't even need it. But like, if your game makes $7 billion, like it's like the Simon and Schuster, right? The payout for Superman, right, where they were paid like $120 or something by Action Comics or something, and then the Superman global icon has made gajillions of dollars. They got nothing. They got nothing. They got like one payment for that. And it's just like, what the fuck?
We
man?
also didn't used to credit our comic book creators for a very long time.
That's true.
They're the reason. Their families are the reason you now see stuff like created by, you know, Stan Lee and Joe Kirby or Jack Kirby, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
that wasn't a thing for a long time.
So, yeah, I think that, I mean, part of this is upping the number of the amount that they get for that. But, you know, I don't know. I guess the thing is that I've watched enough What Happened to know that, like, it seems like for the most part that the vast majority of video game failures came because, like, a studio was mismanaged or a publisher shoved something out the door before it was ready, or like this was a bad concept that a bunch of people just felt like they had to do anyway. Yeah. Like you and I were talking the other day about Starfield and how like I'd be willing to bet that within a year or two that not even the blah 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 patches or the mod community, but like the official Starfield game is going to be better because they were just like, you got to wrap it up and shove it out, man. We got nothing. As Microsoft, we have no other things coming out. We need a AAA title out there, and I don't care if there are no maps in the ground settlements, and I don't care if there's no eat button or if it needs more polish. Like, you have to put that out now, and that because of that, that game has a kind of a bad reputation. Now, I think that there's a possibility that game's going to end up like No Man's Sky, where at the end of 2 years of updates, or Cyberpunk. Like, I don't even want to put it on smaller games, that like there's a good possibility that like so many of the things we see, Cyberpunk is a great example where they shoved that shit out. They delayed it once. They should have delayed it by a second year. Yeah. If what is in Cyberpunk 2.0 came out, that would have been like a strong contender for game of the fucking year for me.
It would have been huge.
Like if they had the next gen versions and all the stuff that they've done with the updates, the game is super fun to play. It was not fun to play when I first played it. Now it is fun to play. So
it's crazy that as long as the gaming has been around, every time you hear a new story about a gaming company of some kind, it still sounds like the Wild West of a company. Yeah. Like somehow we haven't tamed we haven't internalized a way of gaming to be like the way a movie is, where like you have X, Y, and Z things that have to happen, and then the movie comes out the way it's supposed to. Gaming companies, it just sounds exhausting.
It's to me, I think they started becoming profitable during our weird infinite growth obsession, where like every company has to grow by 10% every year, regardless of whether that makes any fucking sense or not. Like, and then, you know, sometimes games need more time than is on the fucking calendar. Some games need more time in the oven, and if you put out a broken game, and we've just getting more and more broken games over the last few years, big high profile broken games too, not like, you know, fucking this indie slop on Steam is broken. It's like, well, wow, weird, throw a party. But like, you know, these big games that have serious problems. Like I didn't want to touch Jedi Survivor until 2 weeks ago. You know, because it was played like garbage. So
it keeps happening, and it's frustrating.
Yep. Let's see. Counter-Strike 2 is out, Michael.
Oh, is it really?
Yep, came out today, the day we're recording this.
Good for them.
Weird thing about it. There was an article on Rock Paper Shotgun that I read that I was like, yeah, you're right about that. So I don't know if it's just because it's a Steam game or what, but Counter-Strike 2 is in the game slot where CSGO is. So CSGO on Steam turned into Counter-Strike 2, which means that it's got like 700,000 upvotes, because they don't reset
everything's the same.
The ratings and reviews. Even though I read some of the Steam ratings, and a bunch of features and game modes are not currently in Counter-Strike 2. I do think that that's the sort of thing where when you do a big update like this, it's like, okay, well, this is the beginning. We're going to add that stuff back in a little bit at a time. But I do think that it should have its own page.
Yeah, it should have been its own thing until it was completely considered ready.
Right.
And then maybe consider doing what you did.
But then I guess they couldn't turn off Counter-Strike Go.
I guess
if it was a separate page, right? Looks a hell of a lot like Counter-Strike to me.
Yeah, there's all the stuff that they did into it is very technical.
Yeah.
A lot of it involves realistic smoke, better texture designs,
blood
ticks, splatters.
Is that what they call it? The ticks or whatever? How often they update the netcode for firing?
Yeah, exactly. Basically the stuff that you would hear about in both fighting games and also just like when somebody's like, I made a new version of Call of Duty the next time kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's those small changes, but once they're added together, it makes for a really nice looking one, because CSGO had been outdated looking for quite some time.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, is it looks like Counter-Strike, but with a really nice fresh coat of paint.
It looks like what you would think Counter-Strike would look like if it was out in 2023.
Yes. It's what your memories thought Counter-Strike looked like when you were younger, for a lot of people who played that at the time. Which was the style at the time.
So you can play Counter-Strike 2. Whether you can play... Okay, I have two different transitions, Michael. Which hand? Pick a hand. Left or right?
Right.
Okay. I have 3 stories about the number 3.
Wait, what?
Are you ready?
Now I'm twice as confused.
Yeah, no, you're 3 times as confused. This is all 3s, baby. First, Payday 3 is a mess right now. The developers have come out and talked about why is Payday 3 such a mess. And apparently, it's kind of a really sad state of affairs, because there was an update to one of the third-party netcode bases that they use for matchmaking in Payday 3 right before they launched, because they did a beta, they did internal testing, they did QA, and then when they hit the button to go live, everything fucking fell down and caught on fire. And they looked through their thing, and they're like, the bottleneck seems to be in this chunk of licensed netcode that we are using that had an update right before this happened.
So it literally had nothing to do with anything they did.
Yes.
That sucks.
Yes. Let's see. It turns out that while a technical issue made things bad right out of the gate, a faulty update by a third-party online services partner broke things all over again. So it looks like they had a problem at the beginning, and then there was this update. They were getting that under control, and they had this update, and then it fucked everything up again. Yes. Now, part of this is one of the weird things about Payday 3 that I didn't know is different than Payday 2 is always online. You have to be online to play it.
Oh, God. That's so much worse.
Payday 2 had some offline modes, but Payday 3 does not. And what's strange is that in their last update, they talked about looking at the possibility of adding an offline mode to Payday 3. So
that's silver lining, I guess.
Yep.
If they do it, at least.
I mean, at least it's on Game Pass, so you didn't buy it and then regret it.
Well,
but
the ones who did Game Pass, at least.
True. Yes.
I'm sure there's a couple of you that did buy it.
Okay. That's 1 out of 3. 2 of 3. Patch number 3 for Baldur's Gate 3 is out, and apparently it's not great.
Wait, what did it do?
Well, people have been reporting that there was kind of one Reddit user that was talking about a whole bunch of different problems. Like apparently the main character's facial expressions are kind of weird now. They've got the camera starts to put the main character right dead center, so you can no longer see like your party behind you reacting when you're doing stuff.
Oh, that's lame.
There's been some problems with let me see if I can find some of the other problems. There's been some problems with quests. Gale and Will both appear to have some bugs in their AI system where Will's quest line can't be completed. And apparently Gale's how much he likes you is set so low that you could treat him like absolute shit and he still just wants to jump your bones constantly.
That's amazing.
If you hit show nudity, apparently some of the sex scenes are showing up as censored, even though the show nudity button is clicked. There's just a bunch of stuff. So a lot of other people have said that there's a bunch of they put in the mirror so you can change your appearance.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Larian will work on this, but for right now, it appears that patch number 3 is the first one where it hasn't been just met with overwhelming approval.
That's a shame.
So
it'd be easier for them to roll back, but I doubt it.
I mean, they're probably going to want to keep those and then just fix the new stuff that's come up. I mean, it's a huge fucking game, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's tricky, but it's like it'd be best not to upset the people who love your game at the moment.
True. Okay. 3 out of 3. You want to take a guess at what the third 3 story that I have here is?
No, I got nothing.
Last week, without any fanfare, trailer, or anything else, Ubisoft announced The Division 3.
Oh, okay. This I did hear about. This legitimately is a weird fucking thing.
It was nothing. There was no trailer. There was no big hoopla. It was like at a conference where they were talking with...
It was like a press release.
Yeah, they were talking with the... They were talking that the new producer, or the new director... instead it was quietly announced on September 21st in a large press release focused on Julian Garrity, the new executive producer of the franchise, who was previously the associate creative director on the first game and is now executive producer. What are you doing, Ubisoft? What have you done?
It reminds me of that part in Toy Story where Woody is having...
Toy Story 3?
No, the first one, where he is having the whole, like... meeting with everybody before his party.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, by the way, Andy's having her birthday party today. like just like randomly, like this big fucking news, and he just says it at the end like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what they fucking did. And they're like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Well, they probably don't want to talk too much about it because this is also the third unreleased Division game, because there's the free-to-play Heartland one, and then there was like another one that was out there in the ether.
I forgot which one that one was, but I know what you're talking about.
So, yeah. So Division 3 is happening, I suppose.
I guess Ubisoft is just running out of ad money.
Yep.
They're using it all on a pirate game.
Well, they're also putting out Assassin's Creed Mirage. And we got the news this week that Assassin's Creed Mirage is going to have FSR and DLSS. Apparently, the system requirements for Assassin's Creed Mirage are really low, like 60 FPS at 1080p with high settings on like any 6-core CPU and a GTX 1660, which is like, fucking 2 generations back, 3 generations back. Like,
they really did not believe in this game.
Well, it makes me think that like this was developed for very old hardware, and it really makes me think that every time it comes up and I'm like, why does this game look old and janky? Is because this game is old and janky.
It's weird because it also was like it's a spin-off of a new one.
Yep.
So what happened here?
Well, Valhalla came out. When did Valhalla come out? 19?
Yeah, it was either 19 or 20. Something like that.
So, but initially the system requirements for it had XESS only, but then they did a release saying, yes, it's going to have FSR, yes, it's going to have DLSS. So,
oh, cool.
Speaking of DLSS, I'm interested to hear what you think about this. That guy that's made the DLSS mod for Starfield, because people started pirating the DLSS 3 version of the mod, which you're only supposed to get through his Patreon.
Oh.
He has now said that he is going to put, quote, hidden mines, unquote, like he's going to fuck up, he's going to put security in there that makes that plugin, sometimes it'll run good, sometimes it'll run shittily, sometimes it'll run kind of shittily, sometimes it might error out entirely, sometimes it'll run fine, so that if you try to pirate it, you're going to get a buggy piece of tech. I personally
That's
think
so weird.
that this is somebody in the comments. There's a huge argument over this. Like, well, he did work, so he should get paid for it. Why would you guys think that doing this, he should have to put this out for free? And it's like, he hooked the existing DLSS fuck, I just had the other one, not XES. God damn it.
AMD?
The AMD one. He just hooked the AMD upres thing to the DLSS library. So like when the game goes to upres, it tricks that pipeline into pointing at the DLSS library instead of using the AMD library. Also, this is a feature that is going to be added for free into this game. So you are technically just like cashing in before the Starfield devs add this directly to the game.
Not only that, you're cashing in on a game that's not yours.
Yeah.
Like it's in a weird legal territory to begin with. If he thinks he could get paid for it at all and that they're just going to leave him alone, that in itself is like super tricky to begin with.
Yeah.
So he's playing with fire, because if he does something like that, then mods could end up having a really bad rep in a way that will just cause them to that will cause the companies to be like, look, you're now making things to break our game, and it's going to make us look bad more than it's going to make like you look bad.
Yeah. I think that if
because not everything's going to mention that he made it when they pirate kind of thing.
Yeah.
It could just say this is the update for it or something, and the average consumer doesn't have no fucking idea that that's the case.
I don't like it, mostly because like if he made like a pack of like ship parts that replace the existing ship parts in the game, so you can make like an X-wing, I would honestly have no problem with that. But like,
yeah, that's a whole other type of mod. That's like such a different set of work, like you said.
But the whole idea of like, I created something, and it's like, you didn't create something. You hooked two pieces of tech together. Like, you didn't create DLSS. You didn't create Starfield. You created something to point, because I downloaded this mod, and you have to go download like the DLSS libraries and then put them in a certain location and things. Like, he can't even give you all the files because he doesn't own the copyright to DLSS, right?
Yeah,
so you have to go get that.
You're not paying for really anything at that point.
Yeah, you're paying for a hack.
Also, the title seems to see that like he he fucking walked it back to you, so that's good.
I didn't see that. Let's see if I can find that update was not earlier. That is, yep, that's today. Okay, from Kotaku.com, Pure Dark's feelings have apparently changed in a new interview with WCCF Tech. The modder says his original comments were made in anger a week ago, and he's since calmed down. The interview with IGN was conducted more than a week ago, and it was then I said back when I was angry at haters and those who cracked my Starfield mod. I didn't think about doing that I did think about doing that at some point, but then I stopped doing it. It's been a long time, and I've calmed my mind. So, it's quote, it's not worth it to waste my time fighting or getting back to those people. I might as well focus on making new mods and updates.
Basically, would have to done a lot more work to make it to begin with.
Yeah.
He would have to do more work to sabotage it than he did to make the mod.
Yes.
Which proves that he didn't do a lot to make that mod.
True. Oh boy. All right.
Sadly.
Kick it into high gear. There's a weird cube in Starfield, and people think that it might be a puzzle. Like, it's a
it
cube
does look
with
like a Rubik's Cube.
dots on it, and the modding community is like, what does it mean? And everybody's like, nothing. And they're like, no, it's got to mean something. So who knows? Maybe we'll find out at some point.
It's gonna solve into Morse code, and it just says you're stupid.
It says, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Speaking of Easter eggs, Cyberpunk 2077 has some Edge Runners Easter eggs. There is apparently like a memorial site in part of Night City that now contains basically like little grave sites for all the characters from Edge Runners with little quotes from them, which is kind of interesting and fun.
It's very nice. So, very nice of them.
Not just that, but they also put in a full-on a new arcade game that is called Arasaka Tower 3D, and it's basically a Doom clone where you play as Johnny Silverhand in like a really low res Doom clone. But the funny thing is the enemies are all just like corpo guys, but they have a layer of pixelation put over them, so they still run like with all these frames of animation and stuff. But at the bottom you got a little Keanu head that gets more and more beat up as you take damage.
I love that.
So
that's great.
And they put one of them in the game, so weird. Yeah, it turns out that MGS 1 is going to be locked at 30 frames per second in the MGS collection they're putting out. 2 and 3 will go up to 60, but 1 will be locked at 30. I think that's probably fine.
I have no issues with that. It's a PS1 game.
Yeah.
I don't need a PS1 game to run at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
If you really need that, just download your mods, guys, because Metal Gear Solid 1 is on Steam or something last I checked.
Get it on the PC. I'm sure you can figure out how to get it to work.
I'm buying this because I'm tired of having to pull out my PS1 memory card for my Infinite bandana.
Sure. And also Sea of Thieves Season 10 is adding single-player servers called solo servers.
Yeah, but I heard there's like a lot of like features that aren't part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff you can't get. You only get like, I think, 2/3 of the XP or something like that. But I'm like, well, is this like Fallout 76 where it's like, they're like, a brand new game. Everybody make their own story and multiplayer. And then as time goes on, everybody's like, I don't want to do that. And then finally, like 4 years later, they're like, okay, here's the single player version of this game with all the content that we added. We took out all the multiplayer, and then you can just play it by yourself. And everybody's like, thank you. Thank you very much.
Pretty much, yeah.
So trailers. We got some trailers. Devil May Cry is going to be a Netflix show.
It looks great.
Michael, what do you think?
It looks awesome.
Yep.
They announced the idea of this a little while ago because this is being made by the guy who helped make the Castlevania show.
Yep.
As well as he's going to make that Ubisoft show that was super awkward last fucking time that happened. But this looks great because the Dante just looks fantastic. A lot of the people from Capcom are overseeing it as well. And they seem to have just fused all of the things about Dante into one version of Dante. Because he's got like the shoulder pads from 4, his jacket has parts of 3, he's got the pendant from the reboot as well. Like he's got a bunch of just random shit on him from different games. So it's fascinating that they did such a thing.
So I guess the question is, it's being not directed but like produced by Eddie Shankar. Are you worried that dude can be a bit of an edgelord, right? So
yeah, he can be a bit of an edgelord, but this is Devil May Cry we're talking about.
Right, but I'm worried that like he could get too much of an edgelord.
Well, it depends on
with Devil May Cry 2.
Yeah, well the thing is he's not writing it, so it's like he's just helps produce it because he did the same with Castlevania. He didn't write Castlevania, so
was he a producer on that?
He was a producer on Castlevania.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah.
I think John's overwhelming hatred for Eddie Shankar is like tinged my my thoughts about.
I didn't know there was overwhelming hatred for the guy.
I think because of the shit that he wanted to do with Power Rangers. And
oh wait, that makes sense. Yeah,
get the fuck out of my fandom, bro.
That was the stupidest thing he's ever done. But he was one of the guys who helped produce Castlevania. Although he's not on the new version of it or the new one.
Right.
That was one of the reasons he sued.
Also, they put out a Captain Laserhawk trailer, but I think that looks terrible. Like, to be honest, like
it does look terrible.
I think it looks awful.
I don't give a shit about that.
Halfway through, I realized that I'm like, oh my god, that's Jade and Paige from Beyond Good and Evil. Like the girl, and then the big guy who's wearing like I'm like, oh no. Oh no! Oh my god!
Yeah, this one seems much more up his alley. But again, a lot of Capcom people are like really on top of it, so it has a really good chance.
And they give us
really
a full 3 seconds worth of animation, which all looks pretty good. Even though I'm still, like I said before, I'm a little tired of this American style of animation that was like. Everything that Castlevania studio does looks the same. I think that's actually a local place.
Tessa knows a bunch of them.
I think I know. I think I actually went to school with a bunch of people.
You also know a couple of them there, I think, now. One of them was the Kilted animator.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He works there because last I checked, he did.
I don't know if Robbie still works there, but he works on Lower Decks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in his class in college. So.
Okay, but yeah, a bunch of their stuff does kind of look the same because the other show they did, I thought looked very similar.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like, which was their Grease their Greek mythology one.
Oh, right.
I forgot the name of it. I didn't like that one.
This and Captain Laserhawk, they kind of look the same. It's like you only get 2 flavors of American animation, which is like this or Invincible.
Yeah, that's very much what we have at the moment.
Or it's that weird like big mouth brickleberry solar opposites bullshit.
Fuck
like
that stuff.
Either
A lot of that stuff's not great.
Yeah.
But
did you watch? I didn't watch the trailer for the new Rick and Morty with their new voices.
I did watch it.
Was it any good?
To me,
I'm afraid.
So here's the funny thing is that like there's a lot of people being like, I think they sound exactly the same. I hear the differences.
Yeah.
Because it's a really good impression.
Yeah.
The problem is that when the characters get really excited, they lose.
They're starting to lose it.
Part of the voice.
Oh.
But the problem is most people don't seem to notice that. Well, not the problem, but like it's a problem for me because I'm like, no, they're different, and everyone's like, they're exactly the same. I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
You know what, Michael? I'm just gonna say I don't care what they sound like. They could literally sound like completely different characters. If they can get the writing to be good again, I don't care. Like the writing for Rick and Morty has been bad.
Well, here's the thing.
For a while.
It turns out Roland didn't really do much of the writing to begin with.
Right.
So who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of weird shit, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is they're giving Fortnite a run for their money. They've had so many things.
Yep.
The latest one is Spawn.
Yep.
Spawn, but not just Spawn, but also the Violator and the clown version of the Violator and the owl version of Spawn when he was in the military, and the burned up face version of Spawn when he's not wearing the Spawn costume.
And they got Keith David to do the voice apparently.
Did they?
Yeah, because he was talking about it on Twitter.
Good God. What the hell?
Yeah.
Spawn?
The fun thing is it's not out of place because Spawn, there was a large period of time where Spawn just had a lot of guns.
I mean, here's the thing though, Michael. Here's the thing. We looked at the Weed Man.
That's right.
Swamp Thing Weed Man.
Oh, yeah.
Skin. After that,
happened.
and Nicki Minaj. Whatever, man. Whatever. Like,
well, there was literally like, what was it? Was it the Warzone one with the Godzilla and King Kong?
Yep.
That happened.
I played that. I played that.
And you won.
Yep.
Because Godzilla murdered everybody.
Also, this season 6 has another one because I'm never going to stop talking about stuff. This is so weird. The chainsaw from Doom, right?
What the fuck?
Here's Al Simmons from Spawn, the Violator, but also Lilith and the guy Inarius from Diablo are going to be operators. I guess that Activision Blizzard is really paying off.
Who was just above them?
That's Gaia.
Gaia just looks like Groot.
Yep.
I thought it was Groot for a second.
Well, this is like there's another Spawn character too. Disruptor.
I have no idea.
I don't know about that. But then also, here's Ash Williams.
Oh my God.
Here's Ashley Williams in Call of Duty Warzone, Michael.
Am I going to play Call of Duty?
Here's
so I can use
Skeletor.
Ash?
Here's also, and then Skeletor.
Also Skeletor?
And then also Skeletor.
This game's amazing.
And also Alucard from Hellsing.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
At the very bottom of the thing is Alucard from Hellsing.
Now you're just making things up.
And the Doom chainsaw.
And the shotgun from Doom, apparently.
Yep. And I just look at these pages and I'm like, the what? You're going to what?
This sounds like an ad lib. It sounds like an ad lib so bad.
Yep.
But I might try it for Ash.
Ooh, he's gonna buy. You can put Ashley Williams in there. Michael's gonna get it. He's gonna get it.
That's partially how I got into Fortnite.
Well, speaking of Fortnite, they're putting Ahsoka in Fortnite because
is she finally being added fully?
Yep, they're putting her in there with her big lightsaber. They put a little teaser for that. I mean, she looks like a Fortnite. She looks like one of them Fortnites.
Yeah, she's been on the ad stuff for the new season for some time, but they hadn't shown if she was coming out yet. But that happened with Geralt. Yeah, where it took like half of the season for them to pop up.
Speaking of celebrities, we got a big live action Idris Elba thing for Phantom Liberty. Shows that fucking spider that killed my ass so hard. Man, I'm gonna be so happy when I get back to that spider. I'm gonna have those throwing knives that just destroy it, melt it.
The craziest thing about this trailer is the final line of the entire trailer.
What was that?
Which is when it's Idris Elba's character going, "The game is fixed."
Right.
That's the last thing he says.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, "You son of a bitch."
I didn't put that together.
You sick fucks.
Because it's all like the spy thing, right? Where he's talking about that, and then, he says that, and then he shoots the camera, and bada bing, bada boom. So, is that Johnny Silverhand over there? Wait.
It is, yeah.
That's a president. That's
Everyone's
Songbird.
shooting at him.
Okay.
Well, that's the idea. The game is fixed, so everything's rigged.
Why
against them?
Why did Johnny Silverhand try to shoot at a guy? He's a cyber ghost, man. Like
he hates you. That's the thing. It's an Abbott Costello routine between the two characters. I could see him trying to shoot you.
Dude, I would pay such money to see a comedy starring Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba. I don't even care what it is. I don't care where it's set or what it's about, but I will watch it.
The best thing is the both of them have comedy in their blood, and that would work so well.
Yep.
I watched that skit you sent me like 4 times, by the way.
Oh,
because it kept making me laugh.
It's just the way that the character it's just the way that his delivery of lines that sound like Idris Elba.
It's what makes it work. It's like the cancer part made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Like, how's your cancer? I don't have cancer. Damn, I'm good. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we're talking about a thing called Idris Elba Can Do Anything. It's a comedy skit that I came across a long time ago.
It's really funny. You guys should look it up.
We got a big featurette. We don't have enough time to really go into it big about the sound design in Alan Wake 2 that is really in-depth and cool. They talk a lot about using kind of similar stuff where they're out like in the world recording stuff. There was a cool thing. They showed off this instrument. I don't know what this is. This was from this Petri guy that was like the composer. See if I can find where he's using it. This thing. So it's like,
what the fuck?
Okay, it looks like an angle. I don't know what this thing is called. It's like an angle. It's like a piece of metal. It's got a piece of metal, and then it's got like a set of springs going horizontal, and then a set of springs going vertical. And I swear to God, it's the thing they use in like horror movies to make that like crackle, crackle, crackle. Like
I wouldn't be surprised actually.
And you play it with like a bow, like a violin bow. Like he's talking about how you should watch this because the noises coming out of this is like, oh, I didn't know that was what they used. Like it's got like the high pitch. You know, in the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they have the high pitch thing, and then there's like
a lot of horror movies have that sort of like sound,
that weird metal scraping sound. Like that's apparently what she used for that.
That's
like,
crazy as shit. Because there's a lot of like instruments that you find out exist that you're like, oh, that's how that's made. Like that one that. Because Tessa has one of these. It's that one where it's like a long pole that goes up, and then
theremin.
The theremin, yeah. Like in the theremin, I remember the day I discovered what a theremin was. I was like, "What the fuck? That's how they make all those."
Yeah, all the 50s sci-fi noises.
Yeah, and then there's this weird like one that's used for I forgot what it's called, but it's like it's almost like a guitar that's on a table almost kind of thing.
A slide guitar?
No, I forgot what it's called. It's like a Hawaiian thing or some shit like that. But sometimes they use it for like surfer type songs.
Slide guitar.
I don't know. That's the thing. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I might be thinking of something else, but I'm not sure. But there's so many instruments out there that you're like, how did anybody come up with this kind of thing?
They also talked about in this documentary, which was the most exciting thing, that the Poets of the Fall are coming back for some new stuff for Alan Wake 2. So.
I'm happy for that.
Yep. Good stuff. Apparently, they did a preview event recently because I've been seeing a lot of like, I played Alan Wake 2. It was great, like headlines on my timeline. So
I'm excited. October is going to be really full, guys. Yep. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You can play Spider-Man.
Well, I'm going to play Spider-Man, and then if I somehow beat Spider-Man and I still have my 4-day weekend that I set up, and Super Mario Wonder, here I go.
Michael, I know you. That's not true. You're going to play Spider-Man on New Game Plus.
I probably might to make all the covers like I did for the first one.
Yep.
You guys, if you guys have never seen these, because they're only on my Facebook, is I played Spider-Man like 4 times to make my own special comic book covers with the bosses in the game. And they're glorious.
Yep.
I did it twice.
Speaking of glorious, we got a trailer from TGS for Sandland. This one was a lot more comprehensive than a lot of the previous ones.
Yeah. I think this is one of the things they showed off at TGS for Bandai Namco, apparently.
Oh.
Or something like that.
I looked at Bandai Namco and went, did you guys release the Elden Ring DLC trailer? And they said no. And I was like, well, pass.
Turns out this is the only thing that was interesting from it. So, yeah.
Yep.
Everybody keeps waiting for Tenkaichi 4 news, but they keep just showing off Sandland.
Well, yeah, this looks pretty good. Like, it's funny because I'm not a big fan of Toriyama. I'm not a big fan of his art. Like,
That's fair.
Sorry,
some people don't like Toriyama's art.
It's a little vanilla for me, but I think it looks a lot better when it's like when these characters have been created with that art, but then there's obviously a lot of like lighting and shading on 3D models that's happening as well.
They did a really good job with making his designs just pop.
Yeah, it looks really good. And like again, this is great. There's a lot more information here about like this sheriff that's teaming up with this demon to try to find this legendary spring. I'm like, great, because before it was just like tanks and shit, right? And I was like, yeah, but what else? And they're like, tanks and shit, right? And I was like, okay.
Its design and shading reminds me the most of the way Blue Dragon was.
I can see that.
Because a lot of the Dragon Ball ones tend to they try to look more like the anime.
Yeah.
So this is allowed to look like something else because it was never animated to begin with.
It reminds me a lot of the Fist of the North Star game that Ryugo got to whatever.
That game was great. I love that game.
But I think it might just be because of the desert and action.
No, it's fair. Yeah.
But
wastelands and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, this actually looks more fun than originally because it's got some context and we see kind of some of the on-foot fighting and some of the vehicle fighting, and it all looks kind of wacky in a way that could be fun.
Toriyama's vehicle designs are so underrated because of that the way Dragon Ball's like the one that everybody looks at.
Yeah.
His models of like vehicles and shit are just so cool looking.
It reminds me a lot of what okay, that makes sense, Jeff. What if Dragon Quest was like on the Fury Road? But,
that makes sense.
Yep,
yeah,
that makes sense. So.
Makes perfect sense, actually.
Yep. Anyway, let's see. We got I'm gonna zip through some of these. Okay, so this was really weird. I found this trailer. I don't know if we saw. You have to tell me if you remember this as a trailer. We saw this before. Synduality Echo of Ada. We saw this at some kind of E3. It was mechs, and then there was the waifu ghost girl.
We did see this at one point, and I remember being like, what the fuck is this at the time?
Right. This is another Bandai Namco thing, so this is something that they showed. But I was watching this, and I just put it on my list because it had mechs in it, and then I realized, wait, there is an anime called Synduality Noir that is about this world, where the people pilot mechs, and then they've got a waifu robot that like helps them pilot the mechs. And then in between, there's a lot of like slice of life stuff with characters and their robot waifus hanging out between mech missions. And this is I think a prequel to that anime.
That's kind of cool.
And it's got every art style.
I was about to say.
It's like a 3D mech game. It's a visual novel. It's like colored pencils. It's like 3D models. It's like cutscenes. It's just everything. It's a motion comic. You didn't take your pick. It's all of that, I guess.
Sure.
And it kind of makes me want to go back and try playing watch. I only watched the first episode of the anime. I think it's on Hulu, to be honest.
Okay, that's interesting.
But yeah, it was weird because I was watching this and I'm like, wait a minute, I know these words. I've heard these terms before somewhere. But it actually looks pretty good. Like I just described all that stuff, but all of the individual things that we've seen are all of high quality, right?
Yeah, it looks like they put a shit ton of work into this thing so far.
Yeah. It's like Bandai Namco trying to do that weird crossover shit. Or like sometimes I watch an anime, Michael, and it'll be like in the title sequence, it'll be like it's owned by Bandai Namco, and I'm like, wait, is there a game tie-in to this? Or
yeah, Bandai Namco is just apparently Toei's like best fucking friend.
Yeah,
because they make all of their shit, or it's just anime people in general's best friend.
But yeah,
it's weird.
This. I think it looks good. I mean, as a mech game, it looks good. I think we said this before. It kind of reminds me of Lost Planet a little bit.
I can see that.
But yeah. Let's see. Next. Hey, remember this Phantom Galaxies trailer that I had you watch before?
Yeah.
So this game called Phantom Galaxies is going into early access in the beginning of November, I believe. And it looks like, honestly, like Macross, like as hell. Where you're flying around in these these airplanes that transform into robots and you have an action. If you go to the website, you can see that there's a whole part where you level up outside. You've got you're walking around and talking to people and getting missions and stuff like that. And then, Michael, I found out, I went to the comments section of this video, and somebody was like, looks great. Shame it's an NFT game.
Oh.
And then I went and looked it up, and it was like, it is an NFT game.
Oh, man. Although that's interesting because it's the first time an NFT game looks like a game.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'll give you that, guys.
Yep. Except
But
that,
I'm
like,
not going to play you now.
there's a few parts of this trailer that are a little empty, where it's like something else should be happening here. Like, you have good design, like good mecha design.
Oh, really good design.
But that, like, it needs more. It needs more.
Well, this is an early access gameplay thing, so it's in early access, so who knows about later on.
I'm gonna check it out when it goes on Steam, because I'm not sure. Like, I thought Steam wouldn't let you put blockchain shit on anymore.
Well, maybe since it's an early access thing, it just doesn't have that sort of thing in it right now.
Maybe. But, like, if you go to their website, they want you to, like, one of the requirements to play the game is to have, like, a Coinbase account.
Oh.
Like, to start playing the game, because apparently it's going to determine, like, your mech or your pilot or some bullshit off of some kind of NFT that you're going to have to buy. And, like, no,
I'm good.
I ain't going to do it.
I'm sorry, guys. Your game's going to fail.
Yep. Atomic Heart and TGS got second DLC announced. This one was really weird. It's got the main character standing in a field where there are a bunch of frozen explosions, looking at a duck, and then it keeps flashing back, and every time it flashes back, there are more ducks. They all have, like, teeth and are grinning in an evil way, and that is all. That is all that there is to this.
What the fuck?
It looks like Goat Simulator or something.
A little
like
bit. Man, Atomic Heart, you broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because I really like you in the beginning of it, and then you just get really bad really fast.
I was thinking, like, maybe one of these days they'll fix Atomic Heart, but I don't know that the people that made that game think it's broken. So
No, they don't. Because if they did, we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah.
I really think that game had a lot of potential, but man, it fucking squandered it so fast.
Well, maybe instead of blowing up robots you can blow up robots for Super Earth. Because we got a trailer for Helldivers 2 that showed one of the other factions, which is the automatons. So there's bugs, but there's also, like, Terminators. And so this is a very short trailer showing the characters fighting against these kind of Terminators. And, Helldivers 2 looks pretty good. So I haven't seen anything yet that makes me think Helldivers 2 is going to be bad.
Yeah. I think the only thing is that it's very multiplayer-centric, so.
True. Well, but the first one was like that, too.
It was, but, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to convince anybody to play this one with me this time.
Yeah. Okay, last case of Benedict Fox is coming to the PS5 with some new additions and a few new mechanics.
That's a game I meant to go back and try.
Yep.
Just never did.
Let's see. Talos Principle 2 got a new trailer with a release date. That is going to be coming out November 2nd. So
Fun.
Yep. I'm skipping stuff. And then last on the trailer front, we got a very brief teaser for Tales of the Shire, which is another Lord of the Rings tie-in game. The trailer has this young hobbit, like, drawn in a notebook, and then a door opens, and there's, like, a bunch of kids, and they're going outside, and there's, like, laughter and stuff happening. And then the diary flips through, and you see some, like, little Shire stuff and guys and whatever. This is being made by Weta. Is making a game, and
That's
it's described as, like, a cozy game. And I'm like, okay, so as if just like Stardew Valley, but in the Shire.
That sounds very relaxing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be super fucking excited for that idea.
Yep. We don't have no more information than that, but if that's what that is, yes. This is the best idea I've heard since the Deep Rock Galactic Dwarves game.
Yes. This is such a perfect, like, use of the Shire as a place. God, that's such a good idea.
Yep.
Not like Gollum was.
Use your imagination, people. It's supposed to come out sometime next year. All right, let's finish it up. Horizon Forbidden West is the next PS5 game coming to the PC.
Ooh, good for them.
Yep. It's being ported by Nixes, who are going to be working with Guerrilla to do that port. So that's a pretty quick turnaround, considering that came out
this year, February,
was it this year,
I think.
or was it last year?
Wait, no. I was thinking of the DLC that came out this year.
Yeah, it was last year.
No, it was last year. Yeah.
Brazilian listing says Red Dead 2 might be coming to the Switch.
That's interesting.
It's like their listing for their ratings listing for Red Dead Redemption 2 that goes back to when it was originally released was edited, and Nintendo Switch was added to that list. There's a lot of speculation that this might be the Switch 2.
It's either that or a cloud game.
Right.
It's one or the other.
Which has apparently the power of a PS4, Xbox One. Red Dead 2 launched on those platforms.
Yeah, but they're also massive. So we'll see how that plays out.
Sure. Final Fantasy Ever Crisis is going to be coming to the PC.
Oh, cool.
So that there's no release date yet, but they said that, yes, it is going to be coming to the PC, and it should be out pretty soon. I don't know why they didn't just announce that when they announced it, because they're obviously working on it. I didn't realize, though, that this is a gacha game.
I didn't know that either, to be honest.
Which, if that's the case, maybe I don't want to play this. I was expecting, like, a game that I paid for and then was able to play without having to gamble.
That's the only thing that bums me out about the idea. Because it looked like the remake that I was kind of hoping I would play Final Fantasy VII as.
But, like, how are you going to gachify that?
I have no idea.
Like, are you going to keep making me replay the Avalanche Shinra plant mission with different do that every day for bonus coins that I can use in the what? How does that work, motherfuckers?
I have no idea. Maybe somebody will mod it into a normal Final Fantasy game. I don't know.
I hope. Speaking of weird shit, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is coming to Steam. It has been an Epic Game Store exclusive for 3 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, the longest one I remember hearing before that was like a year, or most of them have only been a year.
Yep.
That's an interesting thing. They must have made a really interesting deal with them.
Yep. Yep.
Well, all you people who are waiting only on Steam, now you can download it and mod all your weird shit into it.
True. It's coming October 3rd. And then, hey, that Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, that Don't Nod game about the husband and wife with the ghosts and stuff, is getting pushed back to early 2024. I like this a lot because it's supposed to come out later on in 2023. Let me read you what they said. Though finished and set for release, we want Red and Antea's story to get the spotlight it deserves. As a result, with the team at Don't Nod, we made the decision to postpone its release on consoles and PC to February 13th of 2024. We were just like, we are not going to put this out where it's just going to get fucking snowed by all this horseshit coming
That's smart,
out.
guys. That's the thing, is a lot of companies don't think about that. They're just like, you know what? We're going to release this game in the middle of Call of Duty and Spider-Man 2 and all this crazy shit because we're the counterculture game. And you're like, no, you're just the game no one fucking wants during that time frame.
Yep. Plenty of games out there that I probably would have played if...
many games have died that way.
If I didn't have bigger fish to fry.
Just ask Immortals.
I feel bad about laughing about that because of those layoffs.
I feel bad about it, but they did it to themselves.
Yeah,
in a small way.
Hey, Hallmark will sell you a little Dreamcast ornament.
Ooh.
For your tree. It even has a little, what do they call the little screen in the Dreamcast?
It was the memory card thing, but I forgot what they're called.
VMU.
That's right.
It's a little VMU with a little Sonic the Hedgehog guy in it that lights up.
It's crazy how much of a failure that console is, but there's still so much merchandise for it.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Hallmark has this on their website, and they're not just selling that. They also...
It lights up.
Yeah. They also have a Samus, Kingdom Hearts, Mickey, and Donkey Kong from Mario Kart.
Oh, that's fun.
Is this where it is?
Yeah, there they are. Their stuff is always really cool. They made this when I worked for Kohl's. They made this really badass Godzilla one that like lit up and roared if you hit the button on it. And it was like $30 because it was so big.
Yep.
I was surprised. Like, is this going to hang on a tree?
This
it was borderline a statue.
Dreamcast is, if you pre-order it, it's $16. It'll be $22 when it launches.
Nice.
So, Michael, I put this one in here just for you. The limited run edition of Persona 3 will come with a shadow box with the evoker in it.
That's awesome.
It would be irresponsible of them to just sell a loose evoker.
Yes, it would be very irresponsible.
Considering, for anybody who doesn't know, Persona 3 characters get their powers by shooting themselves in the head with a spirit gun that like blasts their spirits out so they can fight for them or whatever.
When I was younger and this game was announced, all me and my cousins and my friends knew it as was the game where the teenagers shoot themselves in the head.
Right. So yeah,
We didn't know it involved powers at all. We just knew they shot themselves, and we were surprised it was coming out in America.
yeah. This is, what is it? $200 for the
Yeah.
C's edition.
Because it comes with that and a lot of other like stuff too.
It's got like a armband and
The soundtrack comes with it.
Soundtrack.
The patch apparently, and it comes in this like nice little box. It's like $200, something like that.
This one, yeah.
But it's yeah, they do a lot of these like crazy big editions.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can find them in a store too. Like I found the Ninja Turtle Shredder one, I think, at a Target at one point. Because
Okay.
that was a limited run one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'd never spend $200 on stuff. I don't like any stuff. I don't want stuff for $0.
It's fair.
People give me stuff, and I go, that's okay.
He still hangs on to some of them.
Well, if you give me Dark Souls stuff.
That's true.
All right, so if you don't have enough money for that, they put out a new Lego Mario thing, and this one's actually relatively, quote-unquote, affordable. It's a little piranha plant that you can put on your desk, and it, like, poses and stuff.
Well, it probably helps that he probably isn't electronic.
Yes. It's just full Lego. It has little coins that go in the bottom of it.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's like $60 on Lego's website.
Yeah, based on all their other stuff, that's the closest thing to affordable they can do.
Yeah.
Especially with how detailed that thing is. That's pretty cool.
Yep, it's
I'm
pretty cool.
tempted to get one.
It bends around and like, it opens, its mouth opens and stuff. And it's pretty cool.
That's nice.
And last but not least, I didn't want to put these right next to each other, but we also got the first trailer for The Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft on Netflix. This is going to be a direct sequel to the reboot franchise.
Really? I didn't know that part about it.
Yes. And I forget who's doing Lara's. It's who's doing her voice? It's ba 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 doo ba 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 da boop.
I've never heard of them.
Haley Atwell.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, that's a really good choice.
Yep. So
Her voice would work really well for Lara Croft.
this also looks a lot like Devil May Cry / Castlevania /
Do we know which studio's animating this too?
I don't. Let's see.
Sometimes they'll put it in the thing.
Sometimes blah 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 blah. No, it doesn't look like it. I might be able to.
I need to look up the studios who are making these to see if they're the same one.
Well, it's all. Oh God, I forgot what the name of that place is.
Powerhouse?
Powerhouse. Yep.
I realized they're also Powerhouse.
Dynamics. Powerhouse Animation.
Damn, Powerhouse
Studios.
is just fucking Netflix's go-to guy now.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we know quite a few people that work there now.
Very much. Castlevania Seis Manos.
That's their Mexicanime, I think is what the name that they called it.
Okay. Blood of Zeus. Masters of the Universe Revelation. Skull Island. Oh, right. Castlevania Nocturne.
Well, they're doing the new Masters of the Universe as well.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't mention Devil May Cry in there, so maybe they didn't make that one.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not.
That's interesting.
Anyway. Looks all right. I forgot we went to do that, but like it looks fine. There's some. You know what? Actually, I would take this opportunity to put my foot down. I got to put my foot down, Michael. I don't really care about Tomb Raider. It's like
I can't blame you because I don't really care that much about Tomb Raider.
Like I don't hate it, but I keep feeling like the world keeps waiting for me to love it, and I keep going. It's fine, I guess.
Well, because the issue, Jeff, is because a lot of people are nowadays only remember good Tomb Raider.
Right.
We were around for all the really, really, really bad Tomb Raider.
No, but like I'm gonna go back and be like, I remember when the first Tomb Raider came out and I played it and I was like, Like at the time when it came out.
I was the same way, but that's what I mean. Like we remember the age of like this is all right,
yeah,
to like this is just fucking the worst thing ever. And now everyone's like, isn't Tomb Raider the best? You're like, where did you people come from?
Yeah. I didn't play the second two games outside of the dojo.
Everyone I know loves the reboots, but I never even played those.
I have a soft spot for how crapulent the Angelina Jolie movies are, but then I never watched the one with Alicia Vikander. Is that her name?
I did for one of us, and it was like, this is just okay at best, which makes it a good Tomb Raider movie, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what's funny? The game that I like the most, this is not going to be a shocker to anybody that I say this out loud, is a game that they use the way the original Tomb Raider games were made, was Duke Nukem Time to Kill.
Okay.
I love that game. That game was great, and it played the same way. So it wasn't Tomb Raider's fault. It was just in the fact that I didn't really care for it.
Laura, they keep trying to bolt on backstory to her, and none of it's been interesting.
Most of it hasn't. Yeah.
The reboot was kind of interesting, where she was really struggling for her life, but like, other than that, I don't really care all that much about Lara Croft.
For all you guys who love Tomb Raider, we're not shitting on the series. We're just saying it's not for us.
Yeah,
that's really what we're saying.
Yeah.
Except for those games that were really bad. Those games are just bad. And you know which ones I'm talking about.
For me, it's that thing where pop culture keeps shoving something in your face, like, and I'm like, I already said nah, bro. I don't know what you want from me. I'm the target demographic for your nostalgia baiting, but I don't even know anybody that has strong feelings about Lara Croft.
I don't either, to be honest.
Yeah.
And if they did, it wasn't because they liked the games. It was because of all the other stuff.
Yes.
That we cannot talk about.
It was because of the huge tracts of land.
Yes. The giant triangles.
Yes. The big pyramids.
Yes.
Anyway, I think that's the end of it. Hey, I didn't fall asleep, and we did get through all the news, and we're only 25 minutes over time.
As is tradition.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael.
If you see my name in it, that's what's going to happen every time.
Yeah. Well, I should have picked one or the other of those Capcom things, considering the amount of crossover between the Capcom and the Microsoft thing.
Yeah.
Tell them where they can find you when you're not over here, Michael.
You can find me at oneofus.net. I do a lot of movie, television reviews. My latest review should still be that Outlaw Johnny Black one, as well as A Haunting in Venice.
Cool. And my latest review is for this podcast, and it's for me to say it's over. I'm glad it's over. 2 thumbs down. I wouldn't listen to it again. Fight me in the comments. Tell me how good this podcast is. I thought this podcast was garbage, but if you want to disagree with me, I dare you, Internet. I dare you to disagree with me. Just kidding. I love you all. Bye.